A name echoes through the heavy air, Myung. This is where it all began. At first, I thought it was a voice coming from the heavens. A young child, Myung, Vodan, knelt in the dirt, ragged and alone. Standing before the child was Tian Gang, the powerful head of the Tian clan. His command was simple and absolute. Protect this child. That is the reason for your life. The words of Tian Gang etched themselves into Myung's very soul. In that moment, a nameless orphan was given a purpose. A life defined by the duty to guard another. The reason for my life. I thought I finally understood what I was meant for. Behind his father's robes cowered the eldest young master, Tian Family. A boy who seemed to need the world's protection. Back then, I didn't know. I was just a child, blind to the tragedy that would follow. That this child, so small and trembling, would be the one to change everything. I didn't know he would become a damned scoundrel who would ruin the Tian clan. But back then, I only knew obedience. I accept your command, clan head. 15 years later, the world had changed, and so had we. The rain fell like tears for a dying era. The storm was only beginning. The stability of the clan was shattered. The great clan head, Tian Gang, had suddenly passed away. Without his father's firm hand, Tian Family debauchery only grew worse, rotting the clan from the inside out. The Tian clan, once counted among the 10 great clans under heaven, declined in an instant. Blood and shame stained the halls. As the walls crumbled, the loyalty of many followed suit. People began to leave the Tian clan in droves, but I was different. I stayed by Tian Family side, cutting down anyone who dared to threaten him. I devoted myself as his bodyguard, becoming the mad dog who shed blood so he wouldn't have to. Yet, even in the heat of battle, Tian Family remained a coward, his eyes wide with a terror that no amount of protection could soothe. In the shadows of the rain-slicked courtyard, a dark presence approached. The final tragedy was about to unfold. A sharp pain exploded in my back. My breath hitched. I looked down to see a blade protruding from my own chest. My mind reeled in disbelief. The hand holding the hilt. It couldn't be. Tian Family? The sting of betrayal burns deeper than the blade itself. After everything I've done, I am left with only one bitter thought. This sword is all I get in return for offering my life. Tian Family stands frozen, his cowardly hands still trembling as he grips the weapon buried in my back. My strength is failing, and the cold reality of my end is finally setting in. Q. The sound of blood bubbling in my throat is the only thing I can hear. The cold metal has done its work, and the life I spent protecting a monster is leaking onto the stones. I fall to one knee, my sword sinking into the mud. It's the only thing keeping me upright as my world begins to blur into a haze of crimson and rain. Behind me, the man who was my purpose stands silent. They say people never change. I wanted to believe otherwise. I wanted to believe that my loyalty meant something, that the boy I guarded would grow into a man worth the sacrifice. How wrong I was. The courtyard is filled with the dead loyal soldiers who fell for a cause already lost. And now, the predators of the demonic cult close in. Their red cloaks star. 26B against the gray storm. They've come to collect. Tian Family looks at his hands, his eyes wide with a mix of terror and a pathetic, lingering hope. Even now, with my blood on his fingers, he thinks he can bargain his way out of this nightmare. The assassins move with a terrifying silence, their blades unsheathed and ready. They don't see a young master. They see a coward whose time has run out. There is no mercy in the demonic cult. Huke. Huke. Each breath is a struggle against the tide of blood rising in my chest. The physical pain is nothing compared to the weight of my own foolishness. I gave everything for nothing. Tian Family. I force his name out, a curse and a lament. He doesn't even have the courage to look me in the eye as I die. He's already looking past me, searching for a salvation that isn't coming. Did you really think they'd spare you if you handed over my head? My voice is weak, but the words cut through the rain. Through the gates, the true masters of this slaughter arrive. Shielded by their umbrellas, Muriang stands small and pathetic before the red-cloaked horde. Did he truly think siding with the demonic cult would revive the clan he himself ruined? Did he think this betrayal was his way to survive? He never was very bright. The storm rages on over the Tian clan estate, a house built on honor that is now drowning in cowardice. The end of a legacy is playing out in the dark, and there is no one left to stop it. I stare up at him one last time, my eyes burning with a final cold clarity. All the years of service, the blood I shed for him, it was all a mistake. You were wrong, I whisper. About everything. Lightning fractures the sky, illuminating the ruins of our pride. The storm is no longer just nature's fury. It's the sound of the world closing in on the last of the Cheons. The cult's elites step into the light of the lightning nightmares given form. The man leading them has a face marked by battle and a gaze that promises only the void. He doesn't look like a man who makes deals. Beside him stands a creature with a face of stitches and a smile that never reaches its eyes. These are the monsters Muryang thought he could outwit. He invited the devil to dinner and expected to be the guest. And then there is the executioner, a horned mask hiding a soul that revels in the harvest of heads. He carries his trophies with a grim pride, a silent testament to the futility of resistance. The realization finally hits Muryang like a physical blow. His scream of terror is high and shrill, lost instantly in the roll of the thunder. The bargain he thought he made has just been voided. The cult leader raises his blade, his voice like grinding stone. If you wanted to live, you never should have dragged them into this. He has more respect for the dead warriors than the living coward. Muryang turns to run, his red robes fluttering like a broken wing. He stumbles through the rain, a pathetic, fleeing shadow. But the Reaper is already swinging his scythe. There is nowhere left to hide. A massive blade cuts through the air, faster than the eye can follow. It's a strike that carries the weight of all the lives Muryang wasted. The final blow to a clan that had already lost its soul. My vision is fading now, the rain turning to a gray mist. The blood spattered on the ground is mine, and it's the only thing I have left to give. My heart slows, and the world grows quiet. From the very beginning, I should never have served the eldest young master. I see it all so clearly now. As the dark closes in, my life was a long, loyal walk to a shallow grave. Clan head. Are you watching? I call out in my mind to the man who gave me this duty. The eldest young master was never someone worth protecting. I am sorry I couldn't save what was truly important. The world blurs as the last of my strength ebbs away. My life as the mad dog is over, and as the light fades, I find myself wishing for nothing more than a long, silent rest. Flickering memories of the late clan head and the child I once swore to protect haunt my final moments, a beautiful lie I guarded with my soul. I should have abandoned that scoundrel long ago. But now, as the cold dark closes in, I finally let go of it all. The sword slips from my fingers, clattering onto the cold, wet stones. My strength is gone, and the weapon that was my only companion for 15 years is finally laid to rest in the mud. I slump to my knees, the rain washing the blood from my face, but it cannot wash away the stain of betrayal. My life, my purpose, it's all ending here, in this silent courtyard. The sky is a bruise, a heavy purple blanket that seems to be pressing down on my final moments. The world is fading, and I am becoming a part of the storm. No, I whisper to the void. At this point, who is there left to blame? Not the cultists, not the rain. Only myself for my blind loyalty. In the end, it was my own hand that built this cage. My eyes are heavy, the light of the world flickering out. In this final silence, there is no anger left, no desire for revenge. It's just regret. A cold, hollow ache for a life wasted on a shadow. I never had a name to begin with, just a shadow, a tool, a mad dog meant to bite whoever my master pointed at. My very identity was an absence, a hollow space where a person should have been. Memories of a child in rags flash before me. After the Cheon clan head took me in, they called me Mu Myong, a name that was a brand of my status, or lack thereof. Mu Myong. It means nameless, a cruel irony for a child who just wanted to belong. I looked up at the sunset over the estate back then, thinking I had found a home. I was so wrong. The lightning cracks above me one last time, illuminating the ruins of my life. I stare into the storm, letting the thunder be the final sound I ever hear. It's almost beautiful, in a tragic way. If I were to be reborn, I wouldn't want to be a weapon. I wouldn't want to be a dog. I would want to be something else. Anything else. Just once. I want to be the one who chooses my own path. I wish I could have a name of my own. The assassin's blades descend in a final, brutal chorus. Each strike is a period at the end of a long, miserable sentence. I welcome the end of the pain, and that I wouldn't be reborn as myself again. I want to leave everything behind. The blood, the duty, the namelessness. And so, the nameless one died. Not with a bang, but with a silent prayer for a different tomorrow. It's cold, an absolute biting chill that numbs the soul. This must be what the end feels like. A slow descent into a dark, frozen sea where no light can reach. So death is cold after all. My consciousness floats in the void, a single spark in the darkness. I wait for the nothingness to claim me, to finally erase the memory of the cold. But then, a strange warmth. Soft hands, the sound of water, a sensation I haven't felt in a very long time. Is this some kind of dream? A final mercy from a heaven I never believed in? My eyes flicker open. The light too bright. The air too warm. The blur of the room slowly resolves itself into a familiar ceiling. My heart is beating. But it feels heavy, different. I look down to see a young woman, a maid named Wool Young, diligently washing my feet. She looks terrified, her hands trembling as she works. Why is she so afraid? And why is she here? The sound that comes out of my mouth is not my own. I jump back in shock, my body feeling clumsy and bloated. Wool Young screams in terror, falling back onto the floor as she begs for mercy. What's going on? I stand on the bed, looking at my hands. They're thick, soft, and unfamiliar. The room is luxurious, filled with the scent of incense and wealth. This isn't the courtyard. This isn't death. I am alive, but how? Countless swords pierced my body. I am sure of it. I felt the life leave me. I felt the cold. So why am I here? And why do I feel so fat? I recall the final moments, the red cloaks, the sharp bite of steel, the betrayal, but it was real. I can still feel the ghost of the pain in my chest, but the body I am in now doesn't have a single scratch. I am sorry, young master. I didn't even realize the water had gone cold. Il heated up again right away. Wool Young is on her knees, her forehead touching the floor. You're Wool Young, aren't you? I ask, my voice sounding like a stranger's. I remember her now. The personal maid who served the eldest young master since childhood, the one who was always abused by him. And by him, I mean the man whose body I am apparently inhabiting now. Young master, please forgive my sin. I beg you. Wool Young's voice is thick with tears as she presses her forehead to the floor. I can only look at her in utter confusion. The words, what? Sin, barely leaving my lips. Why is she so terrified? And why is she calling times me times the young master? Pardon? Wool Young looks up, her eyes wide with bewilderment at my strange question. My mind begins to reel as the silence of the room settles around me. If I have returned to the past, then where is the real eldest young master, Keon Muryang, right now? I need to understand what kind of cruel trick fate has played on my soul. Wool Young's words hit like a physical blow, grounding the nightmare into reality. I am Cheon Muryang, the eldest young master, the very man who murdered me in the future. What my hands tremble as they wander over a face that feels like a stranger's mask. The skin is soft, the jawline hidden beneath layers of pampered life. This can't be happening. The room is filled with a heavy, suffocating silence. Wool Young cowers on the floor, her entire being radiating a fear that I didn't know I possessed. The power dynamic has shifted, but I am the one who's lost. I stare into the mirror, and the reflection that stares back is a bloated, pampered stranger. Stage this. What is happening? The lean, hardened warrior I spent 15 years becoming has vanished. Looking out at the moon, hanging indifferent over the Keon clan estate, the cold truth settles into my bones. The night is peaceful, but my mind is a storm. I checked again and again. This isn't a dream. This is my life now. How did I come back to life? And how did I return 15 years into the past? Inside the eldest young master's body, the logic of it escapes me, but the sensation of being alive is undeniable. I sit in the shadows of the room, the weight of the past and the future pressing down on me. I am a ghost in a living body, trapped in a time I thought I'd left behind forever. I need to know if the boy I once was still exists. Is there anyone in the clan called Mu Myong? But Wool Young's answer is a finality. I've never seen anyone by that name. My previous existence has been erased, so I became Cheon Muryang. And because of that, did I Mu Myong disappear? The irony is a bitter pill to swallow. I am now the vessel of the man I hated most. A spark of determination ignites amidst the confusion. Maybe. This is my chance. A chance to protect the Cheon clan with my own hands. I'll figure out the method step by step. There's time. The clan's destruction happens 15 years from now. I can change it, but that aside. I stand in the center of the chamber, my eyes adjusting to the dimness. There's something wrong with this picture. Why is the eldest young master's chamber so shabby? I remember the future Muryang living in excess, but this place is a far cry from that opulence. It feels cold and neglected. It's no bigger than an ordinary trainee's quarters. The furniture is simple, almost Spartan. It's as if the clan's eldest son is being hidden away or treated as an afterthought. My gaze sweeps across the room until it lands on something that doesn't belong in such a humble setting. A presence that calls out to the warrior I used to be. That thing over there is? I feel a jolt of recognition. It's a ghost of the future, sitting right there on the shelf. A flash of memory pierces the room. The blade, the betrayal, the rain. That sword was the last thing I saw before I died. The memory of the pain is as sharp as the edge that caused it. The Cheonguang sword. I can't believe my eyes. The most precious treasure of our house, lying here as if it were a common tool. A famed blade said to be born from a ray of light that split the darkness. Its history is written in the blood of our ancestors. To hold it is to hold the honor of the clan itself. I reach out and lift it from the rack. The treasured sword bestowed upon the Cheon clan's eldest young master. Which means, Oth. This Cheonguang sword am mine. The weight of it in my hands is grounding. For the first time since waking up, I feel a connection to this world. This sword is a part of me now. Badoom, badoom. My pulse quickens as I pull the blade from its sheath. The sound of steel on leather is a familiar song. A comfort in this sea of uncertainty. The blade gleams with a light of its own. I stand there, sword in hand, a giant in a room that feels too small for the energy now coursing through me. I may have the body of a weakling, but I hold the power of a legend. Indeed, it's on a completely different level from the swords I used before. The craftsmanship is beyond compare. It's perfectly balanced, an extension of my very intent. I can't help it, my instincts take over. I lunge forward with a test swing. Eshk. Ha. The technique is there, etched into my soul. But the execution is a nightmare. This body is a heavy, uncooperative anchor, dragging down every movement. Ha. Ha. I am already doubling over, my vision spinning from just one move. Wobble, wobble. It's a cruel joke, a master spirit trapped in a buffoon's shell. Every breath is a struggle, and the physical reality of this disaster is starting to hit me hard. HHK. Huff. My lungs feel like they're filled with hot lead. Just a few swings and I am already gasping for air, like a dying man. This is pathetic. This body. It's a disaster. Yug. Kung. My legs give out beneath me. The weight of this pampered flesh is a cage I can't escape. Huff. I never thought the act of simply standing could be this exhausting. Huff. Hyok. Huff. I collapse onto the floor, my face inches from the wood. The silence of the room is broken only by the sound of my own desperate struggle for breath. Is this what I've become? I am already at my limit just from this much. My breathing and muscles are shot. I stare at my shaking hands in horror. The skill is there in my mind, but the vessel is utterly broken. The night remains calm outside, a stark contrast to the storm of frustration inside me. The grand buildings of the Tian clan stand tall, unaware that their future heir is currently a heap of sweat on the floor. I force myself into a seated position, crossing my legs as best I can. It's time to look inward. If I am going to survive this, I need to know exactly what I am working with. No matter how little Cheon Moryang trained, he shouldn't be unable to swing the Cheonguang sword even a few times. My former self, Mu Myung, knows the limits of human weakness, and this exceeds them. Normally, energy is cultivated in the dantian below the navel and flows through the meridians across the body. That is the fundamental law of martial arts. Without it, we are nothing but clay. But this body, what's wrong with it? I close my eyes and focus, reaching deep into the core of this obese vessel to find the spark of chi. I feel it, a chaotic, swirling mass of power deep within, but instead of a flowing river, it's a stagnant, boiling lake. Something is very, very wrong. Enormous energies are trapped in the dantian, unable to pass through the meridians, and they're colliding with each other, damaging both the meridians and the dantian. It's a self-inflicted catastrophe. This feels like that thing. The condition noble heirs fall into after misusing elixirs. They think they can buy power with gold, but the body knows better. The golden spoon-type chi deviation. The sun rises over the training grounds of the Cheon clan. Hyat. The sound of effort and ambition fills the air, a world away from the silent chamber where I discovered my ruin. Ha, ha. The disciples are hard at work, their wooden swords cutting through the air in perfect unison. This is the heart of the clan, the forge where its future warriors are shaped. Kiup. A sharp blow lands. Even in training, the competition is fierce. One mistake, one moment of weakness, and you're on the ground. The Cheon clan does not tolerate failure. Hey, who the hell goes full force at someone's head in a spar? I heard something crack, The sparring matches quickly turn into heated arguments. If you were gonna do that, I should have aimed for your head too. In this world, strength is the only truth. A long-haired disciple stands tall, a smirk playing on his lips. You said you could beat me with one hand like I was a girl, right? You lost the bet, hand over the money. Or fight another round if you're pissed. Double the stakes. He revels in his dominance. Shut up. This round doesn't count. The losing disciple barks back, nursing his pride. But his protest is cut short by a sudden silence that sweeps over the grounds. Huh? Everyone stops. Heads turn, and confusion ripples through the crowd. Something or someone unexpected has just walked through the gates. The disciples exchange looks of utter disbelief. Don't tell me. The eldest young master? The whisper travels fast. I stand at the edge of the training floor, a mountain of flesh in a sea of lean warriors. The mad dog is back, but not as they remember me. Huik. Huik. Isn't this the first time he's come to the training grounds? The shock is palpable. Seriously, what's that scoundrel doing here? Their eyes are filled with a mix of curiosity and deep, abiding contempt. To them, I am a disgrace. Huff, huff. I pick up a wooden sword and try to follow the basic drills. This is a mess. Even swinging a wooden sword is a struggle. The laughter and whispers grow louder. My presence here is a joke to them. I lower the sword and turn away. With a body like this, sword training is impossible. Behind me, the insults fly. Giving up already? Figures. Get lost. There's not a single person here who likes you. Their words are sharp, but they aren't wrong. Let's run first. Losing weight takes priority. I abandon the sword for now, ignoring the laughter as I start a heavy, rhythmic jog. Kung. Kung. Each step sends a shockwave through my frame. But if I am to save this clan, I must first conquer the weight of my own failures. Huh. The mockery in the air suddenly turns into a stunned, heavy silence. They watch the scoundrel actually push himself, their confusion beginning to simmer into a strange, sharpening curiosity. They don't know it yet, but the lazy air they used to despise is being replaced by something far more dangerous. Hoof. Hoof. Kung kung kung. Every step feels like a mountain, my breath coming in ragged, desperate bursts. I ignore the stares of the other disciples, focusing only on the rhythm of my heavy footsteps. The scoundrel of the clan is finally working for his place in this world, even if it's just one painful yard at a time. From a distance, I must look like a pathetic sight, a mountain of pampered flesh, struggling to maintain a slow, wobbling jog. But I don't care. In the distance, the training ground halls loom, a reminder of the power I once had and must regain. In the foreground, the elite disciples of the Tian clan watch me, their idle curiosity beginning to sharpen into something far more hostile. Looks like he's not leaving, one of the disciples whispers, his brow furrowed in confusion. They've spent years secure in their contempt for the eldest young master, and my sudden determination is a threat to the status quo they've grown to enjoy. The air around them is thick with a new, dangerous tension. The long-haired disciple narrows his eyes, a sinister smile twisting his features as he watches me struggle. Yeah, doesn't seem like it. Then, well, just have to make him want to leave. Conflict is brewing on the horizon, and it's clear that my journey to save the clan will be paved with the very blood I was born to lead. The mad dog has returned, and the hunt is on. In the Cheon clan's residence, someone is running with desperate steps, trying to push their body to its limits. It's Cheon Moryang, or rather, the soul of the assassin Mu Myong inside his body. He gasps for air, his overweight frame struggling with every single step. He pushes himself forward, thinking, this is way worse than I thought. The body is in terrible condition. As he runs, he analyzes the situation. Cheon Moryang's body is a complete mess, ruined by the countless elixirs he was fed since childhood. Instead of strengthening him, they clashed and turned into poison. He thinks about the foolishness of the original owner, who could have had incredible power with proper training, but a new resolve forms. First, he will make the body capable of absorbing elixirs, and then he will master the Cheon martial arts. Suddenly, his thoughts are interrupted. His eyes widen in shock as multiple sharp objects come flying straight for him. He instinctively throws himself back, narrowly avoiding a blade that whizzes past his stomach with a sharp sound. The weapon slams into a wooden pillar with a loud thud, embedding itself deeply into the wood. Moryang stares in disbelief at the quivering sword, just inches from where he was standing moments ago. The reality of the situation sinks in, he thinks to himself. A real sword. This wasn't an accident. Just then, a man approaches from behind, offering a mock apology. I am so sorry, young master. I slipped and lost my grip on my sword during sparring, but his apology is a clear lie. The man, Nyung Ryo-un, and his group of lackeys can't hide their mocking smirks. It's obvious they're here to bully him. Nyung Ryo-un lets out a condescending laugh, his disdain for Moryang written all over his face. Moryang glares at them from the corner of his eye. Those bastards, he thinks, clenching his fists. One of the men chimes in with a thinly veiled threat. Young master, this place is far more dangerous than you think. You could get hurt even by accident, so I recommend staying locked up in your room like usual. A sharp glint appears in Moryang's eyes as he finally grasps the full picture of his current standing in the clan. Is that how it was? He realizes. Nyung Ryo-un thinks to himself, how dare a piglet living off his parents wander into a place like this? He believes a simple warning like this should be enough to make Moryang crawl back into his room. He turns to Moryang and says aloud, with fake politeness, haha, sorry. But Moryang's reaction completely catches them off guard. Instead of showing fear, he just scratches his head with a disarmingly harmless smile, replying, thanks for worrying about me, I'll be careful. He then turns his back on them without a second thought and continues his jog, chanting 1-2, 1-2. Nyung Ryo-un and his lackeys are left watching him go. Completely baffled by the unexpected outcome, Moryang's nonchalant reaction leaves Nyung Ryo-un's cronies in disbelief, and they start mocking their leader. Ha 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 ha. What do we do? That pig young master isn't leaving, he's holding his ground. You lost the bet, didn't you? Hurry up and pay? As the others celebrate their win, shouting free money, let's go drink, Nyung Ryo-un can only stand apart, seething as he agrees through gritted teeth. Kekeke, sounds great. Clutching the pouch of money he just lost, Nyung Ryo-un trembles with rage, cursing under his breath. Chon Moryang, that pig bastard. Meanwhile, Moryang continues his run, pushing his heavy body forward toward his goal. While running, he processes the encounter. He thinks to himself, warriors who dare to insult their master. How insolent, but I'll endure it. Why? Because if I fight, I'll lose. At my level, I can tell at a glance. He puts the bullies out of his mind, focusing on the prize. It's fine, the Tian clan's secret martial art. I wanted to learn so badly in my previous life. It should be in the Heavenly Dragon archive. He picks up his pace, a confident smirk on his face as he thinks, as the eldest young master, Chon Moryang, I should be allowed inside the archive. He. Finally, he arrives at his destination, the towering Heavenly Dragon archive, repository of the clan's most powerful techniques. But as he tries to enter, a thunderous voice stops him cold, and Moryang's own voice rings out in shock. What did you say? His face contorts with disbelief as he demands an explanation from the guard blocking his path. What did you just say? The guard captain looks down at him with an icy, unwavering expression, completely unfazed by Moryang's outburst. With cold formality, the guard states the devastating news. Understood, I'll repeat it once more. Cheon clan's lesser lord, Cheon Moryang, has been stripped of his position. Moryang's world shatters. His eyes go wide with horror as the guard continues. Therefore, entry into the Heavenly Dragon archive is forbidden. The final word echoes as Moryang stares up at the building that holds the key to his future, now completely inaccessible to him. Defeated, Moryang turns and drags his feet back to his quarters, the weight of his new reality sinking in. He collapses into his small, sparse room, letting out a deep sigh of exhaustion and frustration. Sitting in the quiet room, he finally connects the dots. Now, I finally understand why this room is so small. Stripped of the Lesser Lord title. So, he has already been cast out, but despair quickly turns into determination. His eyes harden as he thinks, I plan to learn how to absorb elixir energy faster from the archive. Looks like ill. Have to find another way. He looks up, a thoughtful expression on his face as he reflects on the life of the boy whose body he now occupies. He muses, come to think of it, Chon Moryang's childhood wasn't smooth either. An image of the original Moryang's lonely and threatened childhood flashes in his mind. He summarizes the boy's tragic situation, a body ruined by elixir side effects, surrounded by enemies on all sides, even subordinates who openly mock their master. He thinks back to his past life, to the moment he was betrayed and killed by the very man he was sworn to protect. Chon Moryang was a loner, just like me. He must have believed he had no allies. Is that why he was like that? Did he even think me, his own guard, was an enemy? He clenches his fist, shaking off the empathetic thought. No, I don't need excuses. His face hardens with resolve. The facts are simple and brutal. Tian Family brought the demonic cult in, and the Tian clan was annihilated. That's all there is to it. He reflects on their different paths. The reason he had no allies was karma for his own villainy. I was a loner too, but that was because I devoted myself to martial training. His train of thought is interrupted by the sight of a meal set out on his table. Huh, he wonders. Surprised? Lifting the lid, he finds 2 plates of cooked mushrooms. He asks himself, did Wolyung make this? Mushrooms and more mushrooms. He starts eating, complaining to himself about the bland, meatless meal. He even wonders how the original Muryang got so fat on this diet. But as he eats, a thought strikes him. Still, there was one person. Under the quiet moonlight, he realizes with a start that there was indeed someone on Cheon Muryang's side. Time pass, and another day begins. The sound of Muryang's voice echoes through the courtyard as he forces his body through basic warm-up exercises. 1, 2, 1, 2. Despite his weak physical state, he continues his training, swinging his arms and counting out the rhythm to keep himself going. He's already out of breath, panting heavily from the simple exertion. This body is truly in terrible shape. He pauses, clutching his arm and complaining. Ah, my joints ache. What kind of body struggles just doing warm-ups? Suddenly, a female voice calls out in surprise. Oh my, you're up already. It's Wolyung, the maid who cooked for him. Carrying a bundle of clothes, Wolyung approaches him with a curious look on her face. Are you heading to training again today? She asks. Muryang is momentarily flustered by the interaction, stammering, Ah, well, she simply tells him, then take care, and begins to walk past. As she passes, Muryang watches her, a silent moment passing between them. Something about her feels different. Muryang speaks up, asking about the bundle she's carrying. Is that my laundry? Wolyung flinches, startled by his question. She quickly turns, bowing and apologizing profusely. I am sorry. I should have done it earlier. I was waiting for you to finish so I could wash it before sleeping. But I must have nodded off. Muryang simply lets out a, huh. Surprised by her panicked reaction, he watches her go, a small, genuine smile forming on his face. In this world of enemies, he's found one person he can trust, he thinks to himself. She might not be much help, but still, my only ally. With this newfound realization, he steps forward and places a hand on her head. Startling her with the sudden, unexpected gesture, he places a hand on her shoulder, his expression surprisingly gentle. He simply says, thank you. Wolyung is utterly terrified by this change in behavior, her mind racing with fear as she stammers, Pardon, what do you mean by that? Muryang just smiles, scratching the back of his head sheepishly. And, I am sorry, but I might cause you trouble for a little while. I think there'll be a lot more laundry soon. With that, he turns and runs off to continue his training, leaving a bewildered Wolyung watching him go. Clutching the laundry to her chest, she watches his retreating figure, a blush creeping onto her cheeks as she whispers, Young master, something has clearly changed. That night, under the full moon, the sound of labored breathing echoes through the empty courtyard. It's Muryang, still running, still pushing his body far beyond its limits. He is determined not to stop. He runs until his lungs burn, and his heavy stomach feels like it's being torn apart, every step an agony. He gasps for air, his face a mask of pain and exhaustion. Sweat pouring down his temples. This is a true trial by fire. The thought crosses his mind as he fights for every breath. I feel like I am going to die. But that pain triggers a memory. The scene shifts to the past, to the life of the assassin, Mu Myong. A sharp crack of a wooden stick rings out. A stern voice yells at a much younger Mu Myong, Where are you swinging, you idiot? You're not focused, are you? His master continues to berate him. Why? Want to go watch the New Year festival? Ungrateful brat. I feed and house you, and all you think about is having fun. Begin 100 strikes of know your place punishment. Despite the harsh words and punishment, the young Mu Myong simply looks up, his eyes filled with unwavering determination, and replies with a single word, yes. His instructor can only sigh in frustration, complaining, seriously, you're so slow. As Mu Myong continues his solitary training on the wooden dummy, in the background, the young and pampered Cheon Muryang runs past with his father, excitedly chattering about the festival. If we don't go now, well, miss the lantern parade. There's acrobatics, fireworks, so much to see. Hurry up. Back in his own lonely training yard, Mu Myong reflects on his life. Had I ever decided anything for myself before? He looks out at the festive scene he can't be part of, thinking, there was no choice. I only took up the sword to repay the clan head, who took in a nameless child like me. But as he watches the celebration from afar, a new thought emerges. But now, the memory fades, and back in the present, a savage grin spreads across Muryang's face. In the midst of his suffering, he finds a look of pure, unadulterated joy. For the first time, he's training for himself, on his own terms. Pushing his new body to the brink under the moonlight, he realizes with a startling clarity, I am enjoying this. From a doorway, Wolyang watches him stumble through the courtyard, her face filled with concern. She can only whisper his title, Young Master, as she watches his grueling, self-inflicted training. Suddenly, Muryang's body gives out, and he collapses onto the hard ground with a thud. Wolyang gasps in shock, but he doesn't stay down. With Wolyang's help, he gets back up and continues, later thinking to himself, Wolyang was stronger than I expected. The next day, even as rain pours from the sky, Muryang is out again, running through the puddles, his face set with determination. Nyung Ryo-un and his gang are watching from the sidelines again. Hey, he's here again today, one exclaims. Persistent bastard, it's even raining today. Another complains, while a third just wants to get paid. Enough talk, hand it over already. The men taunt a furious Nyung Ryo-un as he loses yet another bet. Lost again, Nyung Ryo-un. You always bet that he wouldn't show up. Nyung Ryo-un explodes in frustration, shouting, wise. He acting like that all of a sudden. Training now. What a pathetic act. One of his men tries to quiet him. Are you insane? Shut up, hell here. But another scoffs. So what if he does? Don't you know he lost his lesser lord position and was even kicked out of his quarters? Nyung Ryo-un continues his rant, believing Muryang is no longer a threat. And even if that lunatic becomes clan head, he won't have any real power. This piques the interest of his companions, who ask, what do you mean by that? Nyung Ryo-un lays out the clan's power structure for them. Well, think about it, the Elders' Council. For one, and above all, would Cheon Seonhak, the Grand Elder, follow the eldest young master's orders? His men have to agree. Yeah, that's true. He concludes his argument, saying their futures lie with either the combat force or the Elders' Court, not with Muryang, but one of his men cuts him off, tired of his excuses. That's enough, Nyung Ryo-un. You're just lashing out because you lost the bet? The group decides to leave, happy to have won money off their leader again. The bet's over. Let's go already. Thanks to the eldest young master, we made money again today. Ah, cold. As his men walk away, Nyung Ryo-un is left fuming, muttering to himself, this is annoying. He watches Muryang continue to run in the rain, his expression a mixture of confusion and growing suspicion. A thought forms in his mind as he observes Muryang's determined profile. That pig bastard is scheming. Does he really think pretending to come to his senses now will get his lesser lord position back? What an idiot. As Muryang runs past, he glances over at Nyung Ryo-un for a brief moment, their eyes meeting in the rain. Nyung Ryo-un spits on the ground in disgust, convinced Muryang is just putting on a show. He heard everything, and still pretends not to. How disgusting. From afar, another figure watches the scene unfold in the rain, taking in both Muryang's relentless training and Nyung Ryo-un's contemptuous glare. It's Wolyang, holding a set of freshly folded clothes. She stands silently, her gaze fixed on her master and his tormentor. Her expression hardens, a silent resolve settling in her eyes as she watches the unfolding drama. Some time has passed, the rain has stopped, and a bright sun shines down on the Cheon clan grounds. In the training yard, a row of practice swords stands ready for the warriors of the clan. Muryang's hand closes around the hilt of one of the swords, ready to begin the next phase of his training. He lifts the blade, his expression serious. After weeks of grueling physical conditioning, it's finally time to pick up a sword again. He swings the sword, the movement still awkward in his new body, but the familiar motion brings a sense of purpose back to him. A satisfied smirk crosses his face. Good, he thinks to himself. The feeling of the blade in his hand is just right. He feels a renewed sense of power. I've built up enough stamina to wield a sword. If I combine swordsmanship training, elixir absorption will accelerate even more. Just then, he notices Nyung Ryo-un and his gang picking on someone again. Muryang's face darkens, and he shouts, cancel it. The sudden intervention shocks the bully, who retorts, what, how dare a nobody like you start trouble? A crowd of trainees gathers, murmuring amongst themselves as they watch the confrontation between Muryang and Nyung Ryo-un's group. Suddenly, A furious voice roars from the crowd. Don't you dare insult the young master. Moryang looks over, completely caught off guard by the unexpected defense. It's Wolyang, standing up to Nyong Ryo-un, who has grabbed her by the collar. Moryang stares in shock, whispering her name. Wolyang. Enraged, Nyong Ryo-un grabbed Wolyang, his face contorted with fury. He shouted, "What did you just say? Say it again if you dare." Wolyang didn't back down, declaring that his words were an insult to the young master and demanding he take them back. The commotion drew the attention of onlookers, who gossiped about Nyong Ryo-un picking a fight again. But he was too consumed by his anger to notice, stammering with rage. His eyes, bloodshot with fury, revealed the depth of his anger as he cursed her. "You insolent lowlife. How dare you?" Despite the threats, Wolyang stared back at him, her expression a mix of fear and unwavering determination. Losing his temper completely, Nyong Ryo-un reached for the hilt of his sword. He drew his blade, a crazed look on his face, and lunged forward, threatening to see if her arrogant attitude would hold with a blade at her throat. But before his sword could reach her, a flash of steel intercepted the attack, sending his weapon flying out of his hand. Nyong Ryo-un stood in stunned disbelief, completely blindsided by the sudden intervention. A figure stepped between them. It was Cheon Moryang, holding a sword and coldly asking Nyong Ryo-un just what he thought he was doing. Nyong Ryo-un froze in shock, stammering in recognition. "Eldest young master?" Cheon Moryang's gaze was sharp and unforgiving, a silent warning that this confrontation was far from over. A wave of panic washed over Nyong Ryo-un. He began to back away, realizing he had made a grave mistake. The two men locked eyes, a tense silence hanging in the air as Nyong Ryo-un tried to understand what was happening. With Wolyang standing behind him, Cheon Moryang made his stance clear. "If you have something to say to Wolyang, say it to me." He then pointed his own blade forward, issuing a direct challenge. "With your sword." Nyong Ryo-un was utterly bewildered by this turn of events. Stammering, "Are you formally requesting a regulated duel right now?" A small, confident smirk appeared on Cheon Moryang's face as he considered the idea. "A duel, huh?" He then raised the stakes, his voice dripping with menace as he asked what would happen if it turned into a life-and-death match. The question left Nyong Ryo-un trembling. Before Nyong Ryo-un could even process the threat, Cheon Moryang laid out his terms. "If you win," he declared, "I won't take issue with what happened today, and I'll never step foot in the training grounds again. Is that enough?" Seeing this, Wolyang cried out in panic, reminding him that he hadn't even held a sword in the last month. She felt she had to stop him from throwing his life away, but Cheon Moryang ignored her plea. With a powerful slam, he drove his sword sheath deep into the ground, a clear sign that his mind was made up. Wolyang could only watch in stunned silence as the sheath stood embedded in the earth, a testament to his unshakable resolve. With his hand on the sheath, Moryang spoke, his voice low but firm. "I can endure insults aimed at me." But, he turned to look at the terrified Wolyang, his eyes filled with a strange new fire. "I will not endure insults aimed at those who stand by me." This was the conviction of Myung, the assassin whose soul now resided in Moryang's body, a creed he would uphold no matter what. The air grew heavy with tension. Moryang stood ready, his presence completely different from the pathetic boy everyone knew. He gave his final command. "Draw your sword." Nyong Ryo-un. An arrogant grin spread across Nyong Ryo-un's face. He couldn't believe his luck. He quickly asked, Is this a promise?" Moryang confirmed without hesitation. "Yes." No second thoughts. Nyong Ryo-un was overjoyed. He thought Moryang was just a fat pig who got lucky once. Convinced that he was superior in strength, speed, and swordsmanship, he believed Moryang stood no chance at all. But from Moryang's perspective, his opponent was nothing more than a pathetic bastard, blinded by his own arrogance. In that moment, Cheon Moryang's aura completely transformed. The weak, useless young master was gone, replaced by a seasoned killer with eyes full of overwhelming power. Nyong Ryo-un felt a sudden, suffocating pressure wash over him. He stumbled back, terrified by the unfamiliar and overwhelming aura radiating from Moryang. Moryang's face twisted into a fearsome snarl as he pressed his advantage, taunting his foe. "Why? Are you afraid?" Nyong Ryo-un could only let out a choked gasp, frozen in place by sheer terror. Not giving him a moment to recover, Moryang shot forward with shocking agility, declaring, "If you won't come, then I'll come to you." As Moryang closed the distance in an instant, a blur of motion, Nyong Ryo-un could only look on in shock, unable to comprehend the speed. Smirking with confidence, Nyong Ryo-un thought Moryang's attack was pathetically slow, that he could see everything. He scoffed at the idea that someone with such laughable skills would dare challenge him to a life-and-death duel. But as their blades met, Muryang's eyes were sharp and focused. He wasn't just swinging his sword, he was executing a precise, deadly technique. With a deafening clang, their swords clashed, sparks flying from the point of impact. In an instant, Nyung Ryo-un's sword was torn from his grasp, sent spinning helplessly into the air. He had been disarmed, his blade clattered to the ground, embedding itself in the dirt. In a single, elegant move, the duel was over, and Nyung Ryo-un was left disarmed and utterly defeated. He stared blankly, sweat pouring down his face, completely unable to process what had just happened. What? How did that even? The horrifying realization dawned on him. Muryang's target was never his body, but his sword from the very start. He had used Nyung Ryo-un's own force against him, a feat of incredible skill. A thin line of blood on his neck was a chilling reminder that Muryang could have taken his life. His mind raced. The Tian clan had no such sword technique. How could that brute, the clan's resident laughingstock, have become so overwhelmingly strong? Muryang looked down on his defeated opponent, his voice cold and sharp. He questioned if this was how the Tian clan taught its disciples to swing a sword so carelessly in what was supposed to be a life-and-death battle. The weight of his defeat finally crushed Nyung Ryo-un, and he collapsed to his knees. Muryang simply looked down and uttered a single word. Pathetic. Turning to the stunned crowd, Muryang made a final declaration, his voice ringing across the training grounds. You are not worthy of holding a sword, but the victory came at a price. Blood dripped from Muryang's hand. His new, untrained body was already struggling to handle the advanced techniques of his past life. He then did something unexpected, placing the hilt of his own sword against his throat. He challenged Nyung Ryo-un to find a true reason to wield his blade, and when he did, to seek him out for a rematch with this very sword on the line. His words echoed in Nyung Ryo-un's mind as he knelt in the dirt, surrounded by a faint blue aura. A reason to wield a sword. A reason? With the duel decisively won, Muryang turned to his loyal servant. Let's go back, Wolyang. As they walked away, the other disciples, once so quick to mock, now parted for them in fearful silence. Nyung Ryo-un reached out a hand, as if to say something, but no words came out. His hand fell limp. He had been completely and utterly broken. He could only watch from his knees as the back of the new, terrifying Chon Muryang disappeared from the training grounds. Back at Muryang's quarters, the door creaked open as they returned from the tumultuous events at the training ground. Once inside, the heavy atmosphere of the confrontation followed them. The moment they were alone, Wolyang began to apologize profusely, her voice filled with guilt. I am sorry, young master. I shouldn't have stepped in. She dropped to her knees, explaining that seeing the others mock his hard work made her blood boil, and she lost control. Bowing her head to the floor, she continued to apologize, blaming herself for his injured hand, and regretting that she hadn't acted more calmly. Muryang looked at his bleeding hand. He knew the injury was because his weak body couldn't handle the technique had used, but there was no way to explain that to her. He simply told her, "You have nothing to apologize for. You stood up for me, didn't you?" His words caught her completely by surprise. She looked up, her mind reeling. He stood before her, his presence filling the room, and repeated the words he had spoken on the training ground, a creed he would live by. I can endure insults aimed at me, but I won't endure insults aimed at those who stand by me. With a newfound confidence shining in his eyes, he declared, "To protect my people, I won't endure it. No matter who the opponent is." Wolyang was speechless. In that moment, she saw not the cruel, lazy master she had been serving, but someone else entirely. Her mind flashed back to a memory from long ago, a New Year's wish shared between two children. A young Muryang, holding an elephant lantern, had declared with all his heart that his wish was to become strong. He had proclaimed that one day he would become a clan head as strong as an elephant, so he could protect everyone. Full of childish determination, he had announced he would start his sword training the very next day. Looking right at her, he made a solemn promise. "Wolyang, you may be taller than me, but I'll protect you too." Back in the present, a tear escaped her eye and fell to the floor. The memories brought tears to her eyes. Wiping them away, she whispered to herself, "That's the young master I used to know." The kind, determined boy she had once admired was standing before her once again, but the emotional reunion was shattered by a powerful, imposing voice. Those words, "Can you take responsibility for them?" Muryang and Wolyang turned toward the entrance, both startled by the sudden intrusion. The warmth in Muryang's expression vanished, replaced by a cold, serious glare. He knew this voice. A formidable presence entered the room. It was Cheon Moryang's uncle, one of the three great pillars that supported the entire Cheon clan. The man stood silhouetted in the doorway, his aura radiating immense power and authority. It was the supreme commander of the Heavenly Dragon and Phoenix Sword divisions. He stared down at Muryang and repeated his demand. I asked if you can take responsibility for them. Muryang immediately recognized him and offered a formal greeting. Cheonseon-hak, I greet you, uncle. I have been ignorant and failed to visit you all this time, but inside, Muryang was reeling. In his past life, Cheonseon-hak was the lord he had trusted and followed more than anyone, but he never imagined he would face him again under these circumstances. Seon-hak was in no mood for formalities. He cut his nephew off sharply. Enough pleasantries. If you have time for etiquette, answer the question. Muryang knew this confrontation was inevitable. His uncle's attitude toward him hadn't changed in 15 years. He had always been the one who declared the young master was a lost cause with no chance of reform. But Muryang stood firm, his voice ringing with newfound authority. As the eldest young master, how could I speak words I cannot take responsibility for? I protect my people. That is my conviction. The words sent Seon-hak into a silent rage, his eye twitching. He scoffed. What did you say? Your people? Protect? Conviction? He sneered that Muryang's mouth sullied the very language. Then, he got to the heart of the matter, identifying the technique Muryang had used in the duel. The Heavenly Dragon Sword, Dragon Claw Fork. Seon-hak laid his trap. He explained that this was a secret art of the Heavenly Dragon Sword division, impossible for an outsider to learn. Therefore, Muryang must have learned it from a traitor who broke their oath. He then twisted Muryang's own words, concluding this traitor must be one of his people. Stroking his beard, Seon-hak declared his intent to find and severely punish this traitor and anyone who sheltered them. He challenged his nephew directly. Let's see if you can protect them like you said. The ultimatum was clear. If Muryang failed, he would be banned from the training grounds permanently. Muryang understood immediately. This was all a pretext to get rid of him. He calmly replied, I understand. With all eyes on him, Muryang prepared to answer his uncle's accusation. He began. The traitor is. A cruel, triumphant grin spread across Seon-hak's face. He had his nephew cornered, waiting for the name that would seal Muryang's fate. Muryang's eyes narrowed. He was caught in a political snare, and his next words would determine everything. He knew he had to choose them very, very carefully. With a steady gaze, Muryang finally answered the Grand Commander's question, stating, The traitor is, there is none. Seon-hak's eyes widened in disbelief. What? He demanded, unable to comprehend the answer. Muryang calmly elaborated on his lie. The one who taught me was you, Grand Commander. Though it was in my previous life, I merely happened to see Dragon Claw Fork once and copied it. A sharp scoff escaped Seon-hak's lips, clearly unconvinced by the outrageous explanation. Suddenly, the Grand Commander threw his head back and burst into a hearty, booming laugh that filled the air. But just as quickly as it started, his laughter stopped cold. His expression turned grim, his voice low and menacing as he muttered, How ridiculous! He reached for the hilt of his sword, his patience clearly worn thin. In a flash, Cheonseon-hak launched himself from the upper level, soaring down towards Muryang and the terrified Wolyang. Landing with an imposing thud, he leveled a glare at Muryang. That is not a sword technique you can imitate just by seeing it once, he declared. Draw your sword. I'll ask your blade directly. Muryang began to sweat, his hand trembling as he gripped his sword. He was cornered, facing the immense pressure from the Grand Commander. A powerful, fiery red aura erupted from Cheonseon-hak, his killing intent flooding the courtyard and bearing down on Muryang. Thinking fast, Muryang shot back, a defiant challenge. I already told you, if you doubt me, then show me a sword art I don't know. I'll imitate that instead. The Grand Commander was momentarily stunned into silence by the sheer audacity of the counteroffer. The cuts on Muryang's hand, a clear sign that his body couldn't handle the advanced technique he'd used, continued to bleed. Cheonseon-hak's patience finally snapped. Still lying just to escape the moment. Are you? Enough. Your words can no longer be trusted. He then turned his sharp gaze towards the attendants. You there? The eldest young master's attendant. Wolyang flinched, crying out in terror. Yes, Grand Commander. Fixing the terrified girl with an intense stare, he commanded, Speak. Tell me what this brute you serve truly dreams of. He leaned in closer, his voice dropping to a menacing tone as he delivered a chilling ultimatum. And, if you so much as lie, I will cut you down on the spot. The Grand Commander's threat was absolute, leaving no room for deception. Wolyung's face paled, her eyes wide with terror. A cold sweat dripped down her temple as she was trapped by his words, forced to make a decision that could cost her life. Wolyung trembled where she stood. Her hands clenched tightly in front of her as the Grand Commander's threat echoed in her ears. Gathering her courage, she began to speak, her voice shaking. For the past month, the young master, her mind flashed back to memories of him running endless laps around the training ground and moments where she'd see him smiling to himself. With a faint, almost fond look on her face, she looked up and told the Grand Commander. He kept smiling. The Grand Commander's eyes shot open, his face a mask of pure disbelief. He stared at Wolyung, incredulous. Smiling. That wretch who used to be consumed by inferiority and rage. Despite his intimidating presence, Wolyung clutched her chest and answered with conviction. Yes, she recalled watching him from the sidelines, explaining, even while running around the training grounds. She remembered the sight of his heavy frame pounding against the stone paths as he pushed himself day after day. Her eyes had widened in surprise back then as she realized the truth. The young master was always smiling, she repeated. And it was true. Though sweat poured from his face and his body ached, he had been laughing, truly happy for the first time. As the Grand Commander listened intently, Mumyong stood by silently, thinking to himself, "You were watching everything." Wolyong. He remembered the feeling well, the pure joy of training. He thought, I was just happy that I was finally working for myself for the first time. Wolyong continued her passionate defense, telling the Grand Commander, even when others mocked him, he never paid them any attention. Tears streamed down her face as she spoke. If it were the old young master, he would have lashed out or run away. But not once did he do that. Instead, he drew his sword for me for the first time. With all the sincerity in her heart, she declared, "The young master has changed. I believe in him." The Grand Commander fell silent, his gaze distant as he processed her words. He thought to himself, is she saying he has truly changed? A flicker of understanding, perhaps even decision, crossed his eye as he took in everything he had just heard. Having heard enough, he turned back to Mumyong. "What martial art do you know?" Mumyong replied plainly. "The Cheonyang divine art, that's all." The Grand Commander noted internally that this was no different from the other trainees. Then, surprising Mumyong, the Grand Commander held up 2 fingers. 2 months, he declared. "I will give you 2 months." He stared down at Mumyong, laying out the one condition for his trust. "Defeat the head trainee within that time. Then I will try believing in you." His eyes boring into Mumyong, the Grand Commander leaned forward and asked with raw intensity, "Can you do it?" Mumyong remained silent for a moment, his expression unreadable. In his mind, he recalled his past life with his uncle, thinking, he always handed down trials like this. A confident smile spread across his face as he gave his counteroffer. 1 month will be enough. The Grand Commander was stunned into silence, staring blankly at the boy's sheer audacity. With a sharp click, he sheathed his sword, the metallic sound signaling his decision. He turned his back and began to walk away, his voice firm. "Very well. We'll do as you say." A triumphant smirk played on Mumyong's lips. Everything was going according to plan. He turned to his bewildered attendant, cheerfully saying, "Let's go back, Wolyung." She could only stammer in reply. "What?" With newfound energy, he slung the sword over his shoulder and declared with a grin, "We need to run more." As the Grand Commander's figure receded into the distance, Wolyung's fear was replaced with a bright smile. "Yes, young master," she chirped, happily following him. Half a month later, time had passed, and Mumyong was in the training grounds, drawing his sword with practiced ease. He swung his blade with a power and precision that was worlds away from the clumsy boy he used to be. He reflected on his intense training. For the past 15 days, I practically lived in the training grounds and reached the 5th stage of the Cheonyang divine art that dissolved most of the yang energy inside my body, but the yin energy incompatible with the Cheonyang divine art remained untouched. He let out a sigh, frustrated by his limitations. If I could have learned a higher-level inner method from the Heavenly Dragon Archive, things would have been different. Looking at his hand, which had already healed from the deep cut he'd sustained, he wished for a similar miracle for his internal injuries. I wish my dantian would heal on its own, just like this wound. Meanwhile, The head trainee, Lee Seok-gi, lazed about with his cronies, a smug voice remarking, "Ah, must be nice, you got a chance to publicly beat up the eldest young master." The other trainees snickered amongst themselves. One nervously shushed the group, while another mocked. What if he gives up and runs before the test even starts? A third trainee scoffed at Mu Myong's training, saying the result was obvious. Mu Myong overheard their taunts, sweat beading on his brow. He correctly guessed the purpose of the rumors. The rumors were probably spread on the Grand Commander's orders, indirectly saying, if you're scared, you should quit early. His focus sharpened, his gaze hardening as he noticed the group of gossiping trainees. He thought. Lee Seok-gi leaned back, looking utterly bored and arrogant. "Don't be so harsh," he drawled. Maybe the young master still can't tell brute brawling from swordsmanship. His lackeys burst out laughing, one of them cheering, "Kekek, that actually makes sense." Suddenly, a voice cut through their jeers from behind. "You guys having fun gossiping?" The trainees flinched, startled by Mu Myong's sudden appearance. Ignoring the flustered lackeys, Mu Myong stared directly at the man lounging in the chair. "Are you the head trainee?" he asked, his voice sharp. The head trainee looked up, a hint of confusion on his face as he noticed the symbol for head on his own bandana. A condescending smirk spread across his face. Yes, I'm the head trainee," he said. "If you're worried about the match, don't be. I'll finish it gently." Mu Myong stared intently, a strange feeling of déjà vu washing over him. This face. I feel like I've seen it somewhere before, he thought, before asking aloud. "Your name is?" The man clasped his hands, looking immensely pleased with himself. "I'm Lee Seok-gi." The name hit Mu Myong like a physical blow. His eyes widened in shock as the realization dawned. Lee Seok-gi. The memories came flooding back from his past life. I remember now, his face was slimmer back then, so I didn't recognize him. This bastard. He definitely leaked Cheon clan information to the demonic cult. A wave of pure, unadulterated rage washed over him, and he let out a strangled groan, gritting his teeth. Mu Myong turned and walked away without another word. Lee Seok-gi laughed mockingly behind him, thinking he'd scared him off, but as he departed, Mu Myong made a solemn vow. "Lee Seok-gi, I'll remember that name." His resolve hardened into something dark and absolute. "I was prepared to give it my all, no matter who the opponent was, but I've changed my mind." A murderous glint entered his eyes, his face contorted with fury. "Lee Seok-gi, just wait, you traitorous bastard." Another half a month passed, and the day of the duel had finally arrived. The grand arena of the Cheon clan was packed with spectators, with Lee Seok-gi already waiting in the center. The crowd buzzed with anticipation and doubt. Some wondered just how badly the young master would be crushed, while others noted he'd seemed different lately, though most agreed that people don't change that easily. Suddenly, a loud voice boomed across the arena, silencing the chatter. Silence. From this moment on. The duel arranged by Grand Commander Cheon Seonhak will now begin. Seated above the arena, the imposing Grand Commander gave a simple, firm command. "Call them forth." The announcer called out the first participant. Duelist Lee Seok-gi, step forward, with a confident shout of, "Yes." Lee Seok-gi made his way to the stage. He raised his wooden sword with a cocky grin, soaking in the attention from the crowd. Then, the announcer's voice boomed once more, calling for the second fighter. "Duelist Cheon Moryang, step forward." But the call was met with silence. The announcer looked out over the entrance, but no one appeared. He scanned the empty stage, a confused expression on his face. "Cheon Moryang," he called out again. The crowd began to stir, their murmurs growing louder. "What? Why isn't he coming out?" one trainee shouted, while another sneered. "Don't tell me he didn't even show up, did he? Run away." One of the trainees couldn't hold it in any longer, letting out a choked snort of laughter. Soon, the entire crowd erupted into mockery. "Figures. I knew it." They jeered, their laughter echoing through the arena. Where would that lunatic eldest young master even go? The Grand Commander let out a sigh of disappointment, while Lee Seok-gi allowed himself a smug, triumphant smirk. But just then, a confident voice cut through the noise, ringing out across the arena. "Cheon Moryang is here." Lee Seok-gi's smirk vanished, replaced by shock. High above, the Grand Commander's eyes widened, his disappointment turning to stunned silence. All eyes turned to the entrance, where the steady sound of footsteps announced the arrival of two figures. A young man, lean and confident, walked up the steps to the stage, his presence completely different from the person they were expecting. The crowd was thrown into confusion. "Huh, where'd the pig go?" someone shouted. "Who is that?" another asked. Then, a murmur of disbelief spread. "Wait, his face looks kind of familiar. Huh, no way." As the handsome stranger came to a stop, his transformation was so complete that it took a moment for the realization to hit. Finally, someone gasped in utter shock. Young master. He stood before them, a completely new man. With a calm and steady gaze, he announced himself to the stunned arena. "Cheon Moryang. I've arrived." Skipped. This panel appears to be a credit, promotional, or unrelated image at the end of the chapter, showing different characters and art style not connected to the main narrative scene. A commotion erupts as Cheon Moryang enters the training grounds. The onlookers can hardly believe their eyes, whispering in shock. It was the eldest young master, but he had lost so much weight he was almost unrecognizable. Cheon Moryang pays them no mind, his gaze fixed on the figures watching from the balcony above. There stood the clan's highest authorities, including the Grand Commander himself. With a respectful bow, he formally addresses his uncle, apologizing for his late arrival. The Grand Commander, Cheon Seon-hak, cuts him short. He tells him formalities are unnecessary and gets straight to the point, asking if Moryang is prepared for the duel he requested. A confident smirk plays on Moryang's lips as he replies, "Of course." He swiftly draws his wooden sword, ready for what's to come. Across the training ground, his opponent stands waiting. It is Lee Seok-gi, the head trainee of the Cheon clan. Lee Seok-gi scoffs internally, disgusted by the smug look on Moryang's face. He believes a little weight loss has gone to Moryang's head, finding it ridiculous that he would dare challenge him after only a month of training. Another warrior in the crowd watches with concern, unable to comprehend what the Grand Commander could possibly be thinking by allowing this duel. But for Lee Seok-gi, this situation is perfect. He notes that not only is the Grand Commander present, but the Lords of the Heavenly Dragon and Phoenix Sword divisions are also observing. A wicked grin spreads across his face. This was the perfect opportunity to make a deep and powerful impression on the clan's leadership. Moryang observes his opponent's behavior from afar. He can see right through him, realizing Seok-gi isn't even paying attention to him, too busy scheming for ways to curry favor with the higher-ups. Moryang's eyes narrow with contempt. He knows Lee Seok-gi's true nature all too well. A sly, corrupt bastard who uses people and leeches off the powerful. The scene shifts to a memory from his past life. After joining the Heavenly Dragon Sword Division, Lee Seok-gi had always been this way. Even back then, instead of focusing on mastering the sword, he climbed the ranks through political maneuvering, winning the original Cheon Moryang's favor with honeyed words. Eventually, blinded by greed, he went as far as leaking all kinds of clan secrets to the demonic cult. By the time Moryang in his previous life as the assassin Myung realized the betrayal, it was already too late. This was the judgment he failed to deliver back then. His thoughts returned to the present. In this life, Lee Seok-gi hasn't committed that ultimate sin yet, and that is exactly why Moryang must stop him now. Moryang finally speaks, his voice cutting through the tension. He tells Lee Seok-gi that everything has probably gone according to his plan up until now, allowing him to rise to the position of head trainee. He pauses, letting the words hang in the air before finishing with a chilling smirk. But what a shame. He leans in, his voice low and threatening. Because he knows Lee Seok-gi far too well, he declares with absolute certainty that his career ends here. From the balcony, the Grand Commander's voice booms across the arena, setting the terms. The match will continue until he declares it's over. He also reminds them that this is not a life-and-death duel. Cheon Moryang remains calm and composed, holding his wooden sword as he prepares for battle. Across from him, Lee Seok-gi smirks, his posture reeking of arrogance and overconfidence. With a final, thundering command, Cheon Seon-hak roars, "Begin." In an instant, Moryang explodes forward, closing the distance between them with incredible speed. Lee Seok-gi grins, having anticipated this opening move. He braces himself for the incoming attack. Moryang plants his foot hard on the ground, using the momentum to launch himself upwards. He brings his wooden sword down in a powerful overhead strike, aiming directly for Seok-gi, but Seok-gi recognizes this tactic. He remembers hearing that this is how Moryang defeated Nyung Ryo, on a preemptive strike meant to knock away the opponent's blade with a bizarre sword art. Confident that he has seen through the trick, Seok-gi prepares a counter of his own. In that case, he sneers. How about this? Moryang's eyes flash with killing intent as he brings his full force down upon his opponent. Seok-gi digs in, challenging him. He taunts Moryang to send his sword flying if he can. The two wooden swords hurtle towards each other, about to meet in a massive collision. With a loud crack, The two blades clash with tremendous force. For a split second, Muryang looks shocked while Seokgi flashes a vicious, triumphant grin, believing his plan has worked. Just as Seokgi anticipated, Muryang's wooden sword breaks and is knocked away, seemingly leaving him wide open. But it was a trap. As Seokgi stumbles forward, off balance from his own powerful swing, Muryang uses the momentum to spin into a counterattack, the broken hilt of his sword, now a deadly weapon. He fluidly transitions into a strike, bringing the shattered remains of his sword around with terrifying speed. Crunch. The wooden hilt slams directly into Lee Seok-gi's face with brutal force. In the moments leading up to his defeat, Lee Seok-gi replayed the clash in his mind. He had seen the attack coming, a foolishly straightforward strike. He had even considered ending the match gently, a token gesture of respect for the eldest young master's dignity. But with the clan's lords gathered to watch, he couldn't possibly let such a perfect opportunity to show off his power slip by. Seeing the pained expression on Muryang's face as their swords met, he had felt a surge of triumph, silently telling the young master not to resent him for the humiliation. But his victory was a delusion. Back in reality, Muryang held the broken hilt of his sword, his plan having unfolded perfectly. Before Seok-gi could even register what happened, Muryang was already on him, grabbing his sword arm and twisting it with brutal efficiency. Using his opponent's own momentum, Muryang swept Seok-gi's legs out from under him, sending the head trainee crashing to the ground. The force of the initial impact sent a shockwave through Muryang's body, and he stumbled back, spitting up a mouthful of blood. Though injured, his eyes remained sharp, his gaze fixed on his fallen opponent. The first part of his revenge was complete. As Lee Seok-gi lay on the ground, a vision of terror filled his mind. He looked up to see Muryang, now armed with his own sword, channeling a fearsome aura. In his hallucination, Muryang stood over him with a cruel grin, telling him to watch closely. This, Muryang declared, was a true demonstration of skill. Seok-gi could only watch in horror as his own sword descended upon him. A phantom storm of blows rained down, each strike aimed with surgical precision at his limbs. He screamed in phantom agony, but it was all in his head. The duel was already over. The vision faded. In reality, Lee Seok-gi collapsed to the ground, unconscious. Muryang stood over him, the silent victor. In his last moments of consciousness, Seok-gi's mind concocted a different story. He thought it was a shame his opponent was a lunatic, but felt he had still done more than enough to impress the lords. Lost in his delusion, he clenched his fist in a gesture of victory. He proudly thought to himself that everything had gone just as planned. Posing for the crowd, he expected a roar of applause. But all he heard was silence. Confused, he wondered why it was so quiet. The first crack forming in his triumphant fantasy. His consciousness slowly returns, but his world is tilted. Dazed and confused, he wonders why the entire platform is sideways, not yet realizing he's the one on the ground. A man in the crowd, a cigarette dangling from his lips, watches the scene with a completely indifferent expression. The shocking outcome doesn't seem to faze him at all. His head lolls to the side, his vision slowly clearing. Reality crashes down on him in an instant. He's on his back, looking up at the triumphant figure of Cheon Muryang standing over him. Muryang looks down, a hint of a smirk on his face, and calmly asks, "You had a good trip?" Panic sets in. Lee Seok-gi frantically tries to make sense of his situation, wondering how and why he's on the ground. He tries to get up, but a terrifying realization dawns on him. His body won't move. He's completely paralyzed. He lies there, helpless and defeated, his sword just out of reach. His eyes then fall on the shattered pieces of wood nearby. It was Muryang's wooden sword, the weapon that defeated him. His eyes widen in shock as the memory of the duel finally begins to break through his daze. I remember now, he thinks, the events replaying in his mind. He remembers Muryang's initial, ferocious attack, and his own confident counter. Back then, in that moment, he had successfully shattered Muryang's sword with overwhelming force. He remembers seeing Muryang left with only the broken hilt, a look of surprise on his face, but he also remembers the look in Muryang's eyes that followed, a cold determination that he had foolishly ignored. He remembers Muryang using the recoil to spin his body around, turning a broken weapon into a deadly projectile. And finally, he remembers the sickening crunch as the wooden hilt smashed into his jaw, sending him into darkness. The full, humiliating memory of his defeat replays in his mind, showing him falling helplessly as Muryang stood victorious. As he lies on the cold floor, the undeniable truth sinks in. The thought is unbearable. He, the proud head trainee, had lost. To Cheon Muryang, the clan's biggest joke, Muryang's cold gaze falls on his defeated opponent. A potential turncoat, he mutters, The words lost on the dazed Lee Seok-gi with a final, chilling threat. Muryang tells Seok-gi that he will be watching his every move from now on. He then turns and walks away, leaving the head trainee to his humiliation. Lying on the ground, Seok-gi desperately tries to salvage his pride, muttering excuses to himself. He claims he only lost because he let his guard down against a lunatic who had only trained for a few months, but the excuses ring hollow even to his own ears. He knows the truth, and a wave of despair washes over him as he wonders what to do now. Muryang glances back one last time at the pathetic figure on the ground. Seok-gi's thoughts confirm his fate. He's completely screwed. The crowd erupts in a storm of whispers and disbelief. They can't believe it was over so quickly, that the head trainee had been defeated in a single exchange. From a different part of the crowd, Wool-young watches with tears in her eyes, her hands clasped tightly around the sheathed sword she holds. "Young master," she whispers, overwhelmed with emotion. Muryang ignores the commotion, his gaze lifting once more to the balcony, where the clan lords still watched in stunned silence. The Grand Commander, Cheon Seonhak, strokes his beard thoughtfully, his expression unreadable as he processes the shocking turn of events. Muryang stands his ground, his gaze unwavering, challenging the authority that had underestimated him. Seonhak's eyes narrow, the silence between uncle and nephew stretching on, thick with unspoken tension. A smirk finally plays on Muryang's lips, a silent declaration of his victory and his defiance. The entire training ground is in an uproar, the trainees buzzing with excitement and shock at the unbelievable outcome of the duel. The balance of power had just been shattered, but not everyone is pleased. In the crowd, one of Seok-gi's allies clenches his fists in pure, unadulterated rage. He seethes with anger, cursing Seok-gi for being an idiot and ruining their chance to finally drive the lunatic Muryang out of the training grounds for good. He grinds his teeth, his face contorted in a mask of fury. The humiliating defeat of his friend was a personal insult, and it pissed him off beyond words. In a flash, the duel began and ended. Cheon Muryang moved with blinding speed, striking down his opponent in a single, decisive blow. The head trainee, Lee Seok-gi, lay defeated on the ground, his wooden sword shattered beside him, unable to comprehend what had just happened. Cheon Muryang stood over him, his expression calm and unreadable. The once mocked young master had changed completely. Watching from above, the Grand Commander of the Cheon clan, Cheon Seonhak, observed the outcome with a grim and thoughtful gaze. The crowd of trainees erupted in utter disbelief. One exchange? The head trainee lost in a single exchange? He didn't use some kind of trick, did he? From the sidelines, another trainee named Cha Myung-hak clicked his tongue in annoyance. Teaske. That lunatic's going to get even more full of himself now. Cheon Seonhak's eyes narrowed, processing the impossible victory he had just witnessed. He rose to his feet, his voice booming across the training ground as he prepared to make the official announcement. The victor of this duel is... But before he could finish, Cheon Muryang's voice cut through the silence, shouting, dissatisfaction toward me. I know it all. The Grand Commander paused, his stern expression fixed on the young man who had just stolen the stage. Cheon Muryang continued his shocking declaration to the entire clan. The wrongs I committed in the past, nothing can excuse them. I acknowledge everything. I was undeniably a lunatic and a piece of trash. Cheon Seonhak and the other clan leaders watched in stunned silence, unsure of what to make of this sudden confession. His voice resonated with conviction as he looked upon the trainees he once terrorized. I can't remember the faces of everyone who suffered because of my actions. An image of his former cruel self flashed in his mind. Because those deeds were not committed by me, but by Cheon Muryang. He stood tall, a new resolve in his eyes. Still, I will bear the weight of those sins. From now on, he clenched his fist, embracing his new reality and the path he had chosen. With his back to the crowd, he made a solemn vow, accepting the identity he now wore. Because I am Cheon Muryang. He turned to face them all, his voice ringing out clearly. However, here and now, I apologize for every bizarre and wicked act I committed. And with that, he bowed deeply, performing an act of sincere apology that no one ever expected to see from the clan's mad dog. A profound silence fell over the training grounds. Every trainee stared, frozen in disbelief, as Cheon Muryang held his bow, leaving them to wonder what this unbelievable act could possibly mean. The crowd of trainees watched with mixed expressions of bewilderment, suspicion, and shock, trying to process the unbelievable scene they had just witnessed. Clutching the real sword, Wool-young's heart pounded in her chest, her mind reeling from the young master's sudden transformation. The Grand Commander's eyes widened. He saw not the foolish boy he knew, but the shadow of a true martial artist standing before him. Having finished his bow, Keon Muryang rose, his posture radiating a newfound confidence and strength. He then issued an open challenge to all who still doubted him. And if your anger still isn't eased, come to the training grounds anytime. Standing defiantly in the center of the arena, he made his promise clear to everyone, from the trainees to the Grand Commander watching from above. I'll be here. With his declaration made, Cheon Muryang turned his back on the stunned crowd and began to walk away. Cheon Seonhak was left speechless, watching as his nephew calmly left the stage, leaving a defeated head trainee in his wake. Ignoring the chaos he had caused, Muryang simply turned to his attendant and said, "Let's go, Wolyong." Alone on the balcony, the Grand Commander stroked his beard, a thoughtful escaping his lips as he pondered the boy's incredible change. A short while later, under the clear blue sky, the day's shocking events began to settle. As they walked, Muryang thanked his attendant. "Thank you for holding the Cheongwang sword for me. I prepared it just in case it turned into a real blade duel." Wolyong confessed, "No, it's okay. I was shaking so badly, but holding the sword helped steady me." Muryang smiled gently. "I am glad to hear that. Now, give it back." "Ill. Carry it." But Wolyong flinched, surprised by his request. "Huh? Why?" Her reaction left Muryang completely baffled. Well," he trailed off, not understanding why she would want to keep holding the heavy weapon. Wolyong clutched the sword shyly, her face flushed as she asked, "Can't I hold it a little longer? I think I still need a bit more Sochon." Muryang's confusion only deepened at her strange request. "Sochon?" he wondered aloud. Suddenly, a commanding voice interrupted them. "What were you trying to cut?" Muryang was startled, realizing someone important was questioning his earlier display. He turned to find the Grand Commander, Cheon Seonhak, waiting for him just inside the main hall. A faint smile touched Muryang's lips. The Grand Commander's question was a familiar one, an inquiry with profound depth that he hadn't heard since his past life. "I never thought I'd hear that question again," he thought to himself. Seonhak continued, his gaze intense as he pieced together the day's events. "That sword you showed earlier," he began, referring to the duel, then shifted to the public apology. "You aren't asking what it was you cast away?" He was testing the boy's true intentions. In response to the Grand Commander's question, Keon Muryang answered with a single cryptic word, "The sky." He elaborated with a confident, almost radiant smile. "I was trying to cut the sky." The Grand Commander's eyes widened in utter shock at the boy's profound answer, before narrowing as a thought crossed his mind. How laughable. In that moment, Cheon Seonhak was struck by a powerful realization. That is the path of the sword I pursued my entire life. And yet the one who understood that path was someone I despised. Setting aside his shock, he acknowledged Muryang's victory. "You won the bet. Tell me what you want." "I'll grant it." Muryang began to make a bold request, "Then allow me to enter the Heavenly Dragon Archive," but was immediately shut down by the Grand Commander. Not that. That's beyond my authority." Muryang paused for a moment, stroking his chin as he considered an alternative reward. Then, an idea struck him. One person per day. Arrange a duel with me." The Grand Commander was taken aback by the simplicity of the request. "A duel? That's all you want?" Muryang nodded, his expression firm. "Yes, that's enough." He then explained his reasoning. "There's no better training than real combat." Cheon Seonhak fell silent, his gaze fixed on the young man whose desire for strength seemed to outweigh any greed for power or wealth. Finally, he turned away, giving his approval. "You'll grow stronger every day." Holding his wooden practice sword, Muryang's eyes gleamed with determination. "That's exactly what I want." With newfound resolve, the Grand Commander strode away, leaving Muryang and Wolyong to themselves. As they departed, Wolyong couldn't help but ask, "The sky? What does that even mean?" Muryang replied cryptically, "It's something that exists. Something that only the Grand Commander and I know." The next day, news of the arrangement began to spread throughout the Cheon clan compound. The reactions were not all positive. Somewhere else, a trainee stomped his foot in fury. "Damn it. This pisses me off." Cha Myonghak and his cronies stormed through the grounds, furious at the news. What? One duel per day? Getting cocky just because he won once by sheer luck. Myonghak seethed, thinking, "Lee Sok-gi. I knew it from the moment that worthless bastard strutted around as head trainee." But then, a wicked idea began to form in his mind. He stopped, a slow grin spreading across his face. No, wait. This might actually be good. His hand went to the hilt of his sword, a sinister plot already taking shape. He would use this opportunity for his own gain. A sinister smile spread across Cha Myung-hak's face as he slowly drew his blade, his mind already spinning with a wicked plan. His own scarred face, reflected in the polished steel, brought back a painful and infuriating memory. The scene shifts to a flashback, on a dark street where an arrogant voice boomed, "How dare these lowlifes? Do you even know who I am?" It was the old Cheon Muryang, fat and drunk, terrorizing a cowering man. "I am, damn it, the eldest young master of the Cheon clan, Cheon Muryang himself." The victim could only tremble and ask, "Why are you acting like this?" From a nearby tavern, other trainees watched in disgust and fear. To think it had to be that lunatic. One grumbled, while another nervously suggested they leave before getting involved. Among them was a younger, scarless Cha Myung-hak. A fellow trainee worriedly asked if someone should stop him, but was quickly hushed. Hey, come on, newbie. Don't stick your nose in." Ignoring the onlookers, the drunken Muryang raised his fan to strike, roaring, "Do you think I am a joke? Huh? You think the Cheon clan's eldest young master is a joke?" An attendant desperately pleaded, "Young master, please stop. It's dangerous." But his words were useless. But just as the fan was about to strike, the flash of a sword cut through the air, blocking the attack. It was the young Cha Myung-hak. He had stepped in, his blade meeting Muryang's fan with a shower of sparks and blood. Blood dripped onto the floor as the confrontation came to a startling halt. Cheon Muryang glared at the intruder. "And who the hell are you? Why are you in my way?" Myung-hak, clutching his own bleeding hand, retorted to the man on the ground. "See? Now you're hurt. Idiot." Wiping the blood from his mouth, the young Myung-hak stood his ground, silent but defiant against the clan's tyrant. The old Muryang sneered, dismissing his bravery as a foolish stunt. "Wait, are you trying to pull some self-harm scam? That won't work, you little punk. Get lost." Back in the present, Cha Myung-hak's reflection twisted in his blade as he spat out the words, head held in for so long. "You lunatic bastard." His face contorted into a malicious grin as he made a vow for the upcoming duel. "I'll pretend it was an accident, and leave the same wound on your face." He was announced as the first day's opponent, Cha Myung-hak. In the training grounds of the Cheon clan, Muryang leaps into the air, his body a blur of motion as he practices his swordsmanship under the bright sun. And with perfect form, he brandishes his sword, cutting through the air in a display of disciplined training. His eyes are sharp, filled with a cold determination as he executes the downward strike over and over again. Watching from the top of the steps is Cha Myung-hak, the man Muryang is scheduled to spar with. Myung-hak grits his teeth in frustration, thinking, "That damn brute. He's the one who asked for a spar. And now, someone's here. And he can't even be bothered to look?" He steels himself for the fight, recalling his own challenge. "Brace yourself. I only do real blades life or death matches." Just then, a gentle voice interrupts his thoughts, offering him tea while he waits. Myung-hak turns, a look of confusion on his face, as he sees who spoke. "It's the maid, Wolyong," she calmly explains. "It may take a little while, and once he starts training, he really loses awareness of everything around him." She then offers him some refreshments. Myung-hak looks at her, wondering if she's the maid Muryang had fought for. Wolyong clarifies that it's just a matter of timing before the duel. Wolyong gives him a soft, knowing smile as she holds out the tray. Myung-hak watches her, a bead of sweat forming on his brow, feeling a strange tension in the air. Wolyong's kind eyes seem to understand his confusion. Still observing Muryang's relentless training, Myung-hak asks, "Does he train like this every day?" Wolyong confirms, "Yes, not a single day missed." Wolyong adds that while it's good he's so dedicated now compared to before, she's honestly worried he might be pushing himself too hard. Myung-hak turns to her, his expression skeptical. "Didn't the eldest young lord give you a hard time? Why are you so devoted to him?" he asks. Wolyong acknowledges Muryang's past wrongs but insists that he has changed and is now striving to atone for his mistakes. With a gentle but firm look, she states, "I believe in that resolve of his." Myung-hak takes a sip of tea, mulling over her words. He thinks to himself, atoning for his wrongs. "I can't deny that something has changed about the eldest young lord lately." He admits to himself that Muryang does train diligently, though he finds it strange that all he does is repeat a single move over and over, leaping and striking down. But as he continues to watch the repetitive motion, something about the simple attack makes his eyes widen in shocking realization. Myung-hak's mind races as he focuses on the details. Wait, the position of his stepping foot, he thinks, noticing the impossible precision. He continues his mental breakdown of the movements. The height his sword reaches. Even the grip of the hand holding the sword, it's exactly the same every single time. He can't believe his eyes. How could that reckless eldest young lord pull off something like this? The flawless execution is something he never thought Moryang capable of. His horror deepens as he analyzes the attack path. And the path his blade follows. That trajectory. A dreadful thought begins to form in his mind. Don't tell me, he gasps, his body tensing up. The realization hits him like a physical blow. He sees the phantom of Moryang strike, landing on him. Is he aiming at me? He screams internally. In his mind, the blade stops just shy of his neck, the killing intent so palpable it feels real. A cold sweat breaks out across his face. He stands frozen, panting and drenched in sweat, completely shaken by the silent, long-distance threat. He struggles to process what just happened. This can't be. He hasn't even stepped onto the training grounds yet. But had already been pointing his sword at me? Moryang had been sending a direct warning without ever looking his way. Just then, Moryang's training ends. He turns to Myunghak with a casual demeanor, startling him. Oh my. Sorry to keep you waiting, he says. With a slight smile, Moryang formally greets him. Nice to meet you, Cha Myunghak. Myunghak is utterly stunned. He stammers. You know my name? It was unthinkable for a high-ranking young lord to remember the name of a mere trainee. Moryang explains matter-of-factly. Of course. One day, you'll become an official warrior of our family. I am trying my best to memorize everyone's name. The statement leaves Myunghak speechless. To memorize the names of all the family's trainees? It was an unprecedented level of consideration from an heir. Moryang's eyes then fall upon the prominent scar on Myunghak's face. His expression changes as he asks, That's not a minor wound. Did I do that to you? By any chance? Myunghak's face contorts with resentment from the memory. After a tense pause, he forces out the answer. Yes, Moryang finally understands. I see, he thinks to himself. So that was the reason behind those murderous looks he's been giving me. It was something the old Cheon Moryang did, so I wouldn't remember it. With this new understanding, Moryang slowly and deliberately sheathes his sword. And then, in a move that shatters all expectations, Moryang does the unthinkable. He bows his head in a gesture of deep respect and apologizes sincerely. I am sorry. My foolish past left you with a wound that can't be erased. It can't be undone, but I still ask for your forgiveness. The apology hangs in the air, leaving both Cha Myunghak and Wolyung utterly stunned. A young lord of the main family was bowing and asking for forgiveness from a mere trainee. It was an act that defied all logic and hierarchy within the clan. Myunghak recalls the old Moryang, a spoiled tyrant who never admitted fault and always lashed out. A stark contrast to the man standing before him. Did he just apologize to me? He thinks in disbelief. His mind is in turmoil, and that man is bowing his head in apology. Is he really the same person as before? Was the maid's words truly not a lie? The evidence before him is undeniable. Placing his teacup down with a soft click, Cha Myunghak comes to a decision. I lost, he declares. Moryang is confused. Huh? Lost? But the duel hasn't even, but Myunghak cuts him off. His hand clenched as he repeats, I lost today. He has lost not in combat, but in character. With newfound respect in his eyes, he turns to Moryang and vows, next time, I'll prepare properly and challenge the eldest young lord again. He then turns and walks away, leaving a confused Moryang and Wolyung behind. Moryang watches him go, a small smile on his face. I did. He accept the apology? He muses aloud. It looked like he smiled, just a little. Wolyung, however, offers a different interpretation. Probably, she says, with a sly look. He didn't smile. She saw the resolve in Myunghak's eyes, not friendliness. Moryang then turns to Wolyung with a serious expression. Wolyung, I have a request. She looks at him attentively. Yes? He looks her straight in the eyes and asks, could you write down every single wrongdoing I've committed? Without leaving anything out. And if you've suffered because of me as well, don't hide it. Write it all down. Wolyung is taken aback by the request, her eyes wide with a mix of surprise and emotion. After a moment, she bows her head and agrees. Yes, young lord. Moryang looks off into the distance, his resolve hardening. Correcting one's mistakes. That's where it begins. It's a burden I must carry as Cheon Moryang. From the next day onward, the duels continued daily as Moryang took on any and all challengers. Each challenger came with their own grievances, yelling, Young lord, this is all your karmic retribution. Don't resent me. As they lunged forward, but Muryang met each attack with calm precision, his movements fluid and controlled. He easily parried their furious strikes, his wooden sword meeting theirs with a resounding crack. One by one, they were defeated, their wooden swords knocked from their hands as they fell to the ground. Standing over his defeated opponent, Muryang would offer a hand of sportsmanship. Well done. If the chance arises, let's cross blades again. Most were defeated in a single exchange, and none managed to defeat Cheon Muryang. As Wolyang watches him comfort another frustrated loser, she clenches her fist, annoyed at his kindness towards his opponents. Making a disgusted face, she makes another tally mark on her notepad, keeping a running count of Muryang's victories. The tally for defeated grows longer each day. One of the defeated trainees reflects on his loss, his expression grim. Let your guard down, he thinks, replaying memories of Muryang's past failures and incompetence. But those memories clash with the skill he just faced. Cursing under his breath, he walks away from the training grounds, utterly defeated. Until the final day of sparring, Cheon Muryang's undefeated record remained unbroken. The tally marks on Wolyang's board show 6 consecutive wins and 0 losses. At the duel's over, Muryang retreats to his room for some quiet meditation. He sits calmly, focusing his energy, a bead of sweat on his brow as he attempts to cultivate his internal power. He senses a problem within his body. You've reached the 7th tier of the Cheonyang divine art, yet I still can't suppress the yin energy. This energy blocks his meridians, preventing him from using his qi. Forcing it would mean disaster. His eyes glow with intense blue energy as he grapples with the internal blockage, a single drop of sweat rolling down his face. He realizes the limitation of his current technique. To overcome the yin energy, he'll need a higher tier cultivation method from the Heavenly Dragon Archive. He comes out of his meditation with a frown. Something feels off, an unsettling feeling that he's forgetting something important. Suddenly, his eyes fly open in panic. Ah, I remember now. This is no time to be standing around. He scrambles to get ready, a sense of urgency washing over him. I need to prepare quickly. Today, the family head is returning. This is the benefactor who took him in when he had nowhere else to go. As Mu Myong, he can't wait to see the man who saved him. Now dressed in formal robes, Muryang stands ready, his sword in hand. A thought crosses his mind, a wistful memory from his past life. Should I call the family head father? I did once dream of that. At least, his thoughts are shattered by a frantic shout from outside. Yi young lord, eldest young lord. He turns, puzzled by the commotion. A panicked maid rushes towards him. He recognizes her as Hua Hong, a friend of Wolyang. Before she can explain, he asks with concern, "What about Wolyang?" With tears streaming down her face, Hua Hong cries out, "Right now, she's with the lady who's supposed to be the eldest young lord's fiancé." The news hits him like a lightning bolt. "What?" he exclaims, his eyes wide with shock and alarm. The scene cuts to a messy table, with cooked meat scattered and spilled, a sign of a confrontation that has already turned ugly. Wolyang is on the floor, trembling in fear. Before her lies the spilled platter of food, a mess of meat and vegetables on the cold, hard ground, and she apologizes profusely. I am so sorry. I am truly sorry." Standing over her is an imperious woman in elaborate clothing, her white dress stained with sauce. Her guards look on menacingly. This is Muryang's fiancé. She stares down at the terrified Wolyang with cold, merciless eyes, her expression one of utter disdain and cruel amusement. In the courtyard, the maid Wolyang kneels, prostrating herself before a noble lady whose white cape is stained with blood. She is surrounded by hostile warriors, the tense atmosphere suggesting a punishment is about to be dealt. Looking up from the ground, Wolyang's face is slick with sweat, her eyes wide with a mixture of terror and defiance. She knows her life is on the line. The lady looks down on her with cold disdain, stating that an apology is useless for clothes that have already been ruined. Hiding her face behind a fan, she delivers a chilling verdict, ordering her men to handle the matter according to their clan's law. At her command, the lead warrior nods grimly, his expression hardening as he prepares to carry out the sentence. He slowly unsheathes his sword, its polished blade reflecting the daylight as he steps towards the helpless Wolyang. Without hesitation, the warrior raises the sword high above his head, ready to execute the kneeling maid who trembles in fear below. Just as the blow is about to fall, another maid runs out from the building, screaming in a desperate attempt to stop the execution, but her cries are too late. The executioner's eyes are filled with killing intent as he brings the sword down. Clang! In a flash of steel, another blade appears out of nowhere, perfectly blocking the downward strike just inches from Wolyang's neck. The sudden interference leaves everyone stunned. The lady and her guards turn in shock to see who dared to intervene. Standing there with his sword drawn is Cheon Moryang, his eyes filled with a cold fury that no one has ever seen from him before. Recovering from their surprise, the other warriors draw their weapons and move to surround Moryang, ready to strike on their lady's command. Moryang ignores them, standing protectively over Wolyang. He coldly asks the Tang clan warriors what they think they're doing. On the ground, Wolyang looks up, stammering, "Young master." The warriors demand to know who he is and why he dares to interfere in the Tang clan's affairs. With an air of authority that silences them all, he introduces himself, the eldest young master of the Cheon family. Cheon Moryang. Hearing his name, the lady's guards flinch. She quickly changes her demeanor, offering a polite apology for the confrontation and explaining that she comes from the Sichuan Tang clan. With a coy smile, she finally reveals her name, Tang Sohye. The name hits Moryang like a lightning bolt, and a flood of memories from his past life returns. He realizes with horror that this woman, Tang Sohye, was Cheon Moryang's wife, the very person who orchestrated his family's downfall. As Moryang reels from the shock, Tang Sohye looks at him with a beautiful yet calculating smile. His greatest enemy from his past life is standing right before him, engaged to him once again, and he now remembers exactly how this disastrous arrangement came to be. The scene shifts to a memory, explaining the origin of this twisted fate. In the past, the head of the Cheon family had proposed marriage to the Sichuan-based Tang clan. They were masters of poisons and antidotes, and he desperately believed they could cure his son, Cheon Moryang, whose body had been ravaged by conflicting elixirs. The Tang clan eagerly accepted. For them, this marriage was not about healing. It was a golden opportunity to fulfill their long-held ambition of expanding their power into the Central Plains. And so, Tang Sohye arrived, already in her wedding robes, and calmly accepted the disappointing sight of the bloated, unconscious Moryang. The marriage was pushed through at lightning speed. Over the next 10 years, while Moryang was supposedly being treated, the family head showed an unusual weakness towards the Tang clan. Knowing this, they thoroughly exploited the Cheon family, using them as a stepping stone to seize control of the entire Zhejiang region. The bitter truth echoes through Moryang's mind. The marriage to Tang Sohye was the very beginning of the Cheon family's downfall. Snapping back to the present, Moryang glares at the woman who orchestrated his ruin. All the pieces of his past life's tragedy are clicking into place. His voice is dangerously low as he repeats his question, his patience wearing thin. "I asked what you think you're doing." Tang Sohye feigns a moment of thought, glancing down at her blood-stained cloak as if just noticing the fuss. And with a dismissive tone, she explains that, as he can see, she was simply punishing a maid who had the nerve to dirty her clothes. All the while, Wolyang remains terrified on the ground. Moryang can't believe her audacity. He questions her furiously. "That trivial reason is why you tried to kill a Cheon family servant." Tang Sohye scoffs, suggesting he only sees the lowly servant and not the value of the clothes she ruined. But then she waves it off, saying it doesn't matter anyway. She pivots, her voice turning sharp. She questions if her reason was truly trivial, hypothetically painting Wolyang as a potential assassin. She concludes by declaring that the punishment was carried out according to the laws of the Tang clan. That was the last straw. Moryang explodes, roaring, "Don't be ridiculous. This isn't the Tang clan. In the Cheon family, we follow Cheon family law." He stands his ground, his grip tightening on his sword. He declares that her statement isn't just an overreach of authority, it's a direct insult to his family and his people. One of her guards steps forward, retorting that Moryang is the one insulting the Tang clan's law. He argues that if their law loses its authority just by entering the Cheon family estate, then it was never law to begin with. Tang Sohye's lips curl into a smirk. She issues a direct challenge. "The Tang clan will enforce its law. If you can stop it, then try." At her signal, her lead warrior steps forward. He draws his blade, and a powerful, menacing aura begins to radiate from his body, signaling he is no ordinary fighter. Moryang's eyes widen in alarm. He immediately recognizes the technique the warrior is using, sword aura, a skill only true masters possess. The guard lunges, his blade glowing with immense power. Moryang is forced to meet the strike head-on, his own sword clashing against the powerful aura in a shower of sparks. The sheer force of the impact jolts Moryang. His face contorts in shock and strain as he feels the overwhelming difference in their raw power, a gap far wider than he anticipated. The courtyard erupts in a storm of steel, as Moryang and the guard clash repeatedly, their blades a blur of motion. The force of their blows sends sparks flying. Watching from the side, Wolyang cries out his name in fear, her hands clasped anxiously as she witnesses the fierce battle. Tang Sohye, however, watches the fight with a calm, analytical gaze. Hiding behind her fan, she seems to be assessing Muryang's every move. Her fingers toy with a single, slender silver needle, a subtle hint at the deadly arts of her clan. The guard unleashes another powerful strike, his sword glowing brightly as he swings with all his might. Muryang is pushed back, struggling to parry the relentless assault. The sheer force behind each blow is staggering. Gritting his teeth, Muryang thinks to himself that this man is incredibly strong. To be able to use sword aura, he must be a first-rate master. Muryang's body strains under the pressure. With every clash, Muryang is forced to give ground, the energy from the guard's sword exploding against his own. He realizes that while their swordsmanship skills are equal, his opponent's internal and external energy are overwhelmingly superior. He knows he can't win in a direct confrontation. An idea forms in his mind. He stomps his foot hard on the ground, changing his stance. He then launches himself forward, no longer meeting force with force, but preparing to use a different strategy. He decides to employ the sword of subtle technique, a style focused on precision rather than power. His target isn't the opponent himself, but the opponent's sword. The moment the guard's blade enters his range, he executes his plan, his hands moving with incredible speed to intercept it. With a precise and powerful movement, he uses an advanced technique from his past life. The Heavenly Dragon's sword unit's Dragon Claw capture. The technique works perfectly, deflecting the guard's powerful energy away from his body. The deflected aura slams into the ground, shattering the paving stones with its immense force. The guard can only stare, his eyes wide with utter disbelief at what just happened. His most powerful technique was neutralized. Although he managed to knock the sword from his opponent's hand, Muryang is also off balance from the maneuver. The guard looks down to see his blade stuck in the ground. However, Muryang is also thrown off balance, admitting to himself that he lost his sword in the exchange. His blade clatters to the ground, disarmed just like his opponent. The duel has ended in a draw. The guard scoffs, picking up his weapon. He mocks Muryang, saying he thought he was about to do something impressive. Muryang, now unarmed, can only watch. Muryang glares, realizing the gap in raw power is too great for even his advanced techniques to overcome. Just as things are about to escalate again, a voice rings out. That's enough. Tang So-hee steps forward, a thoughtful expression on her face. She remarks that to think her fiancé is a man who would protect even a servant, she's glad she came to see for herself. She walks past him, coolly stating she'll see him at tonight's banquet, and hopes he'll be a little kinder then. With that, she turns to leave. Suddenly, a cry of alarm breaks the tension. Muryang turns to see Wolyung has collapsed, with another maid desperately trying to rouse her. A patch of blood has appeared on the ground beside her. Muryang's eyes widen in horror as he realizes something is terribly wrong. He shouts her name and rushes to her side, leaving Tang So-hee and her entourage to watch. As she walks away, Tang So-hee thinks to herself, Muryang's condition is completely different from what she was told. If the family head knew of his recovery, the marriage might be withdrawn. She decides she must make the union irreversible. She turns to her guard and asks for his assessment of Muryang's strength. The guard gives his report. Muryang is weak. His swordsmanship is decent, but his internal energy is lacking. He concludes that just 2 subordinates would be enough to handle him. Tang So-hee gives her chilling order. Then move 4. Tonight, the eldest young master must not appear at the banquet. She walks away, leaving her men to carry out her plan. Meanwhile, Muryang frantically tries to wake the unconscious Wolyung, shaking her and calling her name. As he holds her, he notices her pale face, her labored breathing, and the dark circles under her eyes. The horrifying realization dawns on him: poison. His eyes dart to the spilled plate of food on the ground. The food she was bringing to him. His expression darkens with fury. He remembers her happy face from earlier, cheerfully telling him she was bringing his meal. She had proudly announced that it wasn't porridge this time, something he should look forward to. Her kindness and loyalty flash before his eyes. Muryang clenches his jaw, a low growl escaping his lips. His fury is palpable. He curses under his breath, carefully lifting Wolyung into his arms. He knows he has to act fast to save her. As he starts to leave with Wolyung, he calls out to the other maid, Hua Hong, ordering her to bring him his sword. She quickly acknowledges, picking up the fallen blade. Meanwhile, hiding behind a pillar, a spy watches the chaotic scene unfold. He trembles in shock, wondering what just happened, and whether he should report this unexpected development to someone named Nyung Ryo-un. Inside the quiet halls of the Cheon clan's infirmary, the air is thick with medicinal scents and worry. The physicians have just finished emergency treatment for the poison, but the mood remains grim as they update the young master. One of the doctors explains they can delay the symptoms for now, But if it really is a Tang clan toxin like Cheon Muryang suspected, a cure is impossible without their specific antidote. While Yang lies unconscious, her body racked with fever as the poison spreads through her veins. Muryang watches her in silence, his expression unreadable but intense. He turns to leave, telling Hua Hong to keep a close eye on her while he's gone. Startled, the girl asks where he's heading in such a state. He notes there's a banquet for the patriarch tonight, and it wouldn't do for his son to be missing from the event. Just for today, he's going to play the role of the deadbeat son everyone expects him to be. Meanwhile, Chon Seon-hak walks through the clan's grounds, deep in thought. He's troubled by his brother's decision to involve the Tang clan, fearing they're more than capable of swallowing the Cheon clan whole. He wonders what his brother could possibly be thinking. Suddenly, Seon-hak comes to a halt, sensing something unsettling. A vicious aura is radiating from the nearby woods, catching him completely off guard. He looks toward the forest, wondering who could be emitting such a dark presence. Deep in the woods, the local wildlife scatters as the tension in the air spikes. Cheon Muryang is there, pushing himself to the absolute limit in a frenzy of training. He's a whirlwind of steel, hacking away at the massive trees with unrelenting speed. Seon-hak watches from a distance, his eyes widening as he realizes something is different. He stands with his arms crossed, observing the sheer intensity of the performance. He realizes this isn't the elegant heaven-severing sword style their clan is known for. It's raw, filled with unfiltered rage and a man-slashing intent that only seeks to kill. It's a dangerous path. He worries the boy might be completely consumed by his own fury. With a guttural roar, Muryang puts everything into one final strike. He brings his blade down with a force that defies his exhausted state. The massive trunk yields, splitting perfectly down the center. He stands amidst the debris, his breath coming in ragged bursts as steam rises from his body. Muryang is completely drained, sweat dripping from his face as he tries to recover. Seon-hak steps out of the brush, teasing him for claiming head cut the sky when he's just venting on a tree. He asks what exactly the boy is so angry about. Muryang admits that he is weak. He believes his weakness is why he keeps failing to protect his people, and he's desperate for the strength to change that. The Grand Commander is taken aback, asking who exactly he considers to be his people. Muryang looks away and says it's those whom he wishes to care for. The elder is stunned by the depth of the response. Muryang makes it clear. He's talking about the Cheon clan. Realizing how much his nephew has changed, Seon-hak admits to himself that he was being narrow-minded. He recalls how Muryang claimed he could mimic any technique after seeing it once. He challenges the boy to prove those words to him right now. Muryang isn't quite sure what he's getting at. Seon-hak explains that while the Dragon Claw Rain is well known, he created a follow-up form that he's never shared with a soul. He says it's a sword art known to no one else, and asks Muryang if he's ready to learn it. Seon-hak stands ready, promising to show his nephew what happens when one touches a dragon's reverse scale, as this is the final form of the heavenly dragon sword. With a burst of power, he begins the dragon rage. Cheon Muryang can only watch in shock as the elder prepares to strike. The ground trembles as Seon-hak unleashes the reverse scale slash. A massive cyclone of wind and debris erupts from the forest, visible far above the tree line. And nearby, the Tang clan spies stop in their tracks, startled by the whirlwind and wondering if it's coming from the direction of the Cheon clan's eldest young master. The lead spy tells the others to finish hiding the clothes first. They can find out what's happening later, but the job must be finished before the banquet starts. He holds up a vial, explaining that with this poison from the young lady, Muryang won't be able to move for a full day. The symptoms are identical to drunkenness, so even a pharmacist won't notice, and their job will be done once they stage the scene to look like he passed out drunk. He knows that even if the boy claims the trainees attacked him, no one would believe the word of a deadbeat, especially with their perfect disguises. Now, let's move. Back in the clearing, Muryang is left panting, his clothes torn and the area around him completely decimated. He looks at Seon-hak through the smoke, asking if he was actually intending on killing his own nephew just now. Looking at the fallen trees, he can't help but think that the power of the reverse scale slash is truly immense. Seon-hak asks if he now understands the difference between the reverse scale slash and the Dragon Claw Rain. He explains that as a swordsman grows proficient, they begin to feel the sword as if it's a part of their own body, an illusion called sword-body unity that the Dragon Claw Rain exploits. Opponents who can't conceive of the sword separating from the body are left vulnerable when they recklessly charge in. In an instant, the sword leaves the body. Muryang listens intently to the explanation of the essence the sky of the Dragon Claw Rain. However, The elder warns that the technique is not omnipotent and can fail against masters of a different caliber. A wave of sudden bad memories from his past life washes over Muryang. Seonhak continues, noting that there is still something even those high-level masters fall for. He looks at the young man and asks if he knows what that is. Muryang answers that it's the sky of the reverse scale / yes. Seonhak asks if he really thinks he can pull it off. Muryang looks at the wreckage and asks his uncle if he truly believes he could do something like that right away. But he remains confident, vowing that he'll definitely master it before the banquet tonight. Seonhak clarifies that he wasn't asking about the sword art, but about Muryang's vow to protect the Cheon clan. The question catches the young man by surprise. A small smile creeps onto his face as he processes the elder's words. Standing tall, Muryang gives his word, I shall. Seonhak looks satisfied and simply says, good. He notes that the surrounding energy has become messy because of some rats and decides to head to the banquet hall first. Muryang bows as his uncle walks away, leaving the messy clearing behind. With a quiet sigh, the young master prepares for what comes next. Now then, he shows his teeth in a predatory grin, wondering if he should see the faces of these rats himself. He turns toward the hiding spots in the brush, ready to confront the intruders. 3 men in blue robes hide in the bushes, watching Cheon Muryang from a distance. They wonder if he's noticed them, but remind themselves that trainees are allowed to be here. Their plan is simple: catch him off guard and use paralysis poison to finish the mission. Suddenly, the 3 men jump down from the trees and surround him. They quickly bow and apologize, claiming to be trainees of the Cheon clan. They explain they were looking for a place to train and ran into him by accident, asking for his humble forgiveness if they caused any disturbance. Cheon Muryang isn't buying a word of it, calling them rotten old geezers and mocking their attempt to pass as trainees. The men are visibly taken aback by his blunt insults. Muryang reveals he's memorized every trainee's face and name, and they aren't on his list. He says it's perfect timing since he was looking for sparring partners, and he'll figure out who they really are as they fight. Realizing their cover is blown, the Tang clan spies, the rats, decide to subdue the young master and force him to swallow the paralysis poison. The Cheon clan is a martial clan, with many training grounds within the estate. Lately, the most secluded one among them has become a gathering place for trainees previously defeated by Muryang, who are now training as if they've been bewitched. Nyung Ryo-un is among them, running hard and vowing to take his sword back from the young master soon. Cha Myung-hak is also there, pushing his limits with heavy weights and swearing that victory will be his in the rematch. A frantic trainee runs into the clearing, shouting that something is bad and trying to get Nyung Ryo-un's attention. The other trainees are so deeply immersed in their own workouts that they completely ignore the newcomer's panic. The frantic trainee repeats that he just saw something about the young master. The mention of the young master immediately grabs everyone's attention, and they glare at him with glowing eyes, demanding to know what happened. Annoyed by their obsession, the trainee tells the lunatics they look ridiculous and should put some clothes on because he just saw something huge. Back in the woods, the silence is broken by the sound of clashing blades. Muryang blocks a heavy strike with a loud clang. He moves with precision, fending off the 3 Tang clan spies, the rats, and landing a solid blow with his scabbard. He continues his assault, swinging the scabbard with enough force to send another spy reeling. The blow catches the man right in the chest, making him cough and gasp for air. The spy falls to the ground, struggling to recover from the impact. Muryang stands tall over his defeated opponent, his gaze cold and unwavering. He surveys the other 2 men who are still struggling to get back on their feet. One of the Tang clan spies, the rats, realizes that Muryang is far stronger than they expected and is getting even stronger by the second. The spy looks at his sword, frustrated that he can't wield a Cheon clan blade properly since it's not a Tang clan weapon. He realizes their disguise backfired completely because they underestimated the young master. Muryang asks if they're ready to tell him who they are and what they want, noting that he already has a guess. The spy challenges him, asking what good a guess is without proof, and claiming he'll never uncover their true identities. Muryang just stares and asks who else besides the Tang clan would try something like this. The spy is visibly shaken that his identity has already been guessed. Muryang points out that everyone will think the same, and that alone is enough. He thanks them, noting that the marriage alliance is now as good as ruined. The spy grits his teeth and calls the young master too green. Muryang gets back into position, ready to go again with a good feeling about this round. He leaps high into the air, crossing his sword and scabbard as he descends. He unleashes a powerful strike, shouting reverse scale / The spy lunges forward with a desperate cry, meeting the attack head on. Elsewhere in the forest, Birds scatter from the trees as the sounds of battle echo through the woods. The sun continues to beat down on a peaceful clearing. A Tang clan protector stands in the clearing, keeping watch over a sundial stick. He notes that 45 minutes have passed since the three went after the young master. Seeing they haven't returned, he wonders if they've failed. He decides they must erase the evidence completely, knowing that while the Tang clan will deny everything, it's only a matter of time before they're found if they leave a trail. Deep in the woods, the Cheon clan trainees are gossiping about the Tang clan's ruthless reputation. One of them is shocked, asking, "What? They tried to kill a servant over something so trivial? Are they insane?" Another trainee explains that, from what he's heard, that's the Tang clan's code. He describes their terrifying methods, noting, their poisons and hidden weapons can take a life with the slightest contact. You'd never know when or how you were struck. You can't prepare for it beforehand, and you can't punish it afterward. He adds that they forbid any contact with direct members of the family, and even an accident is punishable by death. Looking genuinely rattled, he says, "They say there's never been an exception. Anyone who made contact ended up dead. I saw it myself. They flinched and dodged like their lives depended on it." A memory of the cold and distant Tang Sohei flashes through their minds, a stark reminder of the dangerous clan they're dealing with. The trainee admits it's terrifying to think about becoming family with people like that. He reflects on how their fate depends on their master and decides, the Cheon clan, though, how should I put it? Looser? Softer? But I think I actually like that about them. A second trainee agrees, saying the Cheon clan feels fair since even the young master gets punished if he acts like a delinquent. An older man chimes in, "I agree. This is the only place that accepted an old guy like me as a trainee." He points out how strange the clan is, noting that even Nyung Ryo-eun is still alive after challenging the young master. He claims that in any other clan, his head would have turned up in the Hongmeiru latrine. Nyung Ryo-eun himself is listening, his face serious. He wonders how the Tang clan dares to pull such stunts in another clan's territory, feeling that looking down on the Cheon clan only goes so far. Nyung Ryo-eun asks, "So what you're saying is we help the young master?" His companion agrees, noting that since everyone else is busy hosting guests, they're the only ones with time to spare. Lee Sok-gi, the head trainee wearing the black cap, listens with a skeptical expression, wondering what kind of help they could possibly offer. Suddenly, he changes his tune, shouting, "I can't stand this. This concerns the clan's honor." Lee Sok-gi takes charge, telling the group, "First things first, we find the young master, then we can make a plan as they follow him." Some of the other trainees whisper about how he's just showing off again, admitting they don't really trust him. Hidden in his own thoughts, Lee Sok-gi is purely opportunistic. He thinks, perfect. A crisis is an opportunity. If I show leadership and make a name for myself here, I can win back the elders' favor. He even considers a darker path, thinking that if things go south, he can just hand over the young master and switch sides to the Tang clan. For that to happen, he needs to be the one holding on to the young master. His plotting is interrupted when he spots something in the distance. He ducks behind some leaves, shocked to ask, "Why is a Tang clan warrior here?" He watches closely, wondering what the warrior is doing out here. The Tang clan protector is crouched on the ground, striking flint to start a small fire. Lee Sok-ji is confused, wondering, and why are they trying to burn clothes, and in such a remote corner of the estate, no less. He gets a good look at the warrior's focused face as the man blows on the growing sparks. Realizing the danger, Lee Sok-gi turns and sprints back up the slope as fast as he can. He reaches the other trainees, gasping for air and looking completely terrified. He practically collapses in front of them, trying to catch his breath. "I just saw what that guy was doing in secret," he yells, his eyes wide with panic. The others are confused, asking, "Senior, what's wrong?" Lee Sok-gi continues to shout about what he saw in secret with his own eyes, unable to contain his fear. He starts to draw a conclusion, shouting, which means... Suddenly, the Tang clan protector leaps from the trees with his sword drawn, catching the group completely off guard. Lee Sok-ji can only gasp out, "Damn it!" Terrified. He stares at the warrior as the man descends upon them. The warrior strikes with lethal precision. Blood sprays across the clearing as Lee Sok-gi is cut down, his final thought being, "I knew this would happen." The Tang assassin's eyes widen as he realizes the trainees have already spotted him. He can't believe it. One of them saw him trying to burn the clothes. He leaps into the air, determined to silence the witness before the word gets out. If word leaks that they disguised themselves to ambush Cheon Muryang, it's over. His face twists into a grim mask of resolve. He has to kill him right here, right now. Steel clashes against steel as the trainees meet his strike head-on. Their coordination is flawless, stopping his momentum dead in its tracks. One of them grinds his teeth, putting his full weight behind the block. Sparks fly as their blades lock together. The assassin is floored. He expected to cut through them like paper, but these aren't ordinary disciples. Another trainee lunges forward, his sword a silver blur as he closes the distance. The assassin barely has time to react. The trainee spins through the air, delivering a powerful downward slash. The assassin has to scramble back to avoid being split in two. He stares at them, panting, his confidence shattered. How can mere trainees move with such precision and power? Lee Sok-gi scoffs, looking down at him. They're not just any trainees, and they definitely aren't like that guy who spent his days doing bare body training after a beating. He points out the obvious. If the Tang clan is known for poison, the Cheon clan is known for something far more direct. The secret lies in the overwhelming swordsmanship of the elite units, personally taught by Grand Commander Cheon Seon-hak. Only the absolute best are even considered for these ranks. Lee Suk-ji stands tall, pride radiating from him. They are the top candidates, the elite of the elite. And now the assassin knows why they're so strong, except for one guy, apparently. The assassin growls, refusing to be intimidated by a bunch of kids. He's a seasoned warrior, and he's going to show them the difference in their power. The trainees don't even flinch. They invite him to bring it on, 7 against 1, just to keep things fair. The assassin is breathless, his eyes darting between the fighters. He can't believe he's being pushed back this easily. He can't understand how they're anticipating every one of his moves. It's like they've seen his techniques 1,000 times before. A heavy blow connects, and he's shocked he could even block it in the middle of such a chaotic exchange. His defense is barely holding. The trainees tighten the circle, blades pointed at the center. There's nowhere left for the assassin to run. He starts to laugh, a low, rasping sound. He thinks it's hilarious that these pups think they've actually won. His eyes narrow with pure malice. He's done playing games and promises to show them what a real master is capable of. A short time later, the assassin is out cold, slumped over the shoulder of one of the trainees. He wasn't quite the threat he thought he was. The group begins the trek back to the estate, mission accomplished. But Lee Sok-gi is lagging behind, clutching his midsection with a pained expression. He groans about his stomach acting up, looking like he's in genuine distress. He tells the others to just keep going without him. He claims he needs an urgent bathroom break and promises to catch up in a bit. The others are annoyed by the timing, but they leave him behind anyway. As soon as they're out of sight, his pained look vanishes. He rushes back to the clearing and starts poking through the smoldering remains of the fire. He pulls out a bundle of half-burnt clothes. He knows there's something significant about them, something Muryang didn't want anyone to see. This could be perfect leverage if he ever decides to switch sides to the Tang clan. He quickly stuffs the evidence away as his teammates shout for him to hurry up. He tells them he's almost done and will be right there. The other trainees are disgusted by the detailed update. They just want to get back and report their success. Finding Chon Muryang is still their top priority. They move through the woods, unaware that their leader just secured a major piece of insurance for himself. Back at the site of the ambush, one of the trainees spots something on the ground. It looks like the assassin dropped something before he was taken down. Cheon Muryang picks up a small glass vial, holding it up to the light. It's empty, but the residue inside is enough to tell him exactly what he needs to know. He looks down at the defeated spy, a cold, calculating look in his eyes. He's piecing together the Tang clan's plan, one bit of evidence at a time. As the sun begins to set, the sky turns a brilliant shade of orange over the Cheon clan estate. The grand banquet hall is prepped and ready for a major event. The doors swing open as the announcement rings out. The patriarch is entering. A hush falls over the gathered guests as the most powerful man in the clan arrives. The guests bow low as he strides into the hall, flanked by his personal guards. The atmosphere is thick with respect and anticipation. Patriarch Cheon Weigong stands at the front of the hall, his presence commanding the room. He looks every bit the legendary leader he's reputed to be. He surveys the room with a dignified expression, his face a mask of calm strength. Even the most seasoned martial artists among the guests are impressed. Whispers fill the air as guests admire his elegance and handsome features. To many, he's the paragon for all swordsmen, a man forged into a perfect weapon. Cheon Weigong brings his hands together, signaling for silence. The banquet is about to officially begin, and he has a major announcement to make. He thanks the honored guests and fellow martial artists for gracing the banquet with their presence. It's a formal introduction, but the weight of his words is felt by everyone. Finally, he announces that before the festivities start, he'd like to introduce a very special guest. The tension in the room reaches its peak as everyone waits to see who it is. A guard's voice rings out through the hall, announcing the arrival of the lady from the Sichuan Tang clan. Every head in the room turns toward the entrance. The heavy doors creak open, and the guests start whispering. They can't believe the legendary Tang clan is actually making an appearance here. Tang Sohei, the ice flower herself, strides into the room. She's famous for being the most beautiful woman in Sichuan, but the crowd is more concerned with why she's visiting the Qian clan. Patriarch Qian Weigang stands tall, declaring his intention to solidify the relationship between their two great families. His voice is steady and full of authority. He officially announces a marriage alliance, right then and there. It's a bold move that catches everyone off guard. The hall erupts in murmurs. People are stunned. The patriarch is marrying off his son? And not just anyone, but that deadbeat eldest young master? Cheon Seonhak watches silently, his expression unreadable as he takes in the unfolding drama. This alliance changes everything. A small, triumphant smirk plays on Tang Sohai's lips. Behind her fan, she's already savoring her victory. She knows it's a done deal. Once the patriarch makes a public declaration like this, there's no turning back. The trap is set. Cheon Weigang looks around, noting the absence of the Council of Elders. He laments the lack of unity within the main family, especially at a time like this. He asks about his son's whereabouts, but the report is the same. The servants have searched everywhere, and the young master is nowhere to be found. One of Tang Sohai's men whispers that since Moriang hasn't shown up, the matter has been handled. They've even stationed guards outside to make sure he stays away. With his son missing, the patriarch has no choice but to carry on. He gives the order for the banquet to finally begin. Night falls over the estate, and the celebration continues under the glow of lanterns. It looks like a peaceful evening, at least on the surface. As the night winds down, Cheon Weigang checks one last time if Moriang has arrived. He's ready to bring the event to a close. The patriarch stands up to address the room again, looking tired but keeping his composure. The food is gone, and the wine has been poured. He thanks the guests for coming and informs them that his warriors will escort them home to ensure they bypass the curfew safely. He's about to dismiss them when something stops him mid-sentence. He looks toward the entrance, sensing a disturbance. Panic erupts as someone shouts that the front lines have been breached. The guests are frozen in their seats, not knowing what's happening. The massive doors are suddenly kicked off their hinges with a thunderous crash. Wood splinters and dust fills the air as the entrance is obliterated. A guard is sent tumbling across the floor, completely helpless against the force of the intrusion. The entire hall falls into a shocked silence. A pair of boots steps calmly over the threshold. A voice asks how an outsider could possibly think they could block his path. Cheon Weigang stares in disbelief, his eyes wide as he looks at the person standing in the doorway. He can't believe what he's seeing. Cheon Seonhak is equally stunned. The person entering isn't just an intruder, it's someone they all know very well. Tang Sohai's smirk completely vanishes. She looks on with wide eyes, her carefully laid plan suddenly falling apart. Cheon Moriang strides into the middle of the hall, followed by a group of trainees. The deadbeat eldest young master hasn't just shown up, he's arrived to take control.